Boom. I hope that worked. So StreamYard is apparently having a thing. I hope I'm actually live here. Yeah, they are. I was like hammering on the go live button, and it's like, nah, traffic is too high. You can't go live right now. And I'm like, but I told the people I would be live. Like I promised. Like, are you guys gonna make liars out of me? And so anyway, I made it. I'm here. I don't know if you guys heard that I don't know if you heard the fuse. I ran the fuse and I was hitting live and it wasn't running. And I ran the fuse about 3 times, but I was hitting go live like every time it would let me. And yeah, eventually it went through, but I guess you didn't see the fuse. So, oh well, we made it. Boom. All right, so today was a day. Somebody says, did I get any sleep? I did not. I got about 3 hours of sleep last night, and I was gonna try to sneak a little nap in. Between work and the show, which I often do. And Zora had opinions. Zora was like, the hell you say? She took that personally. So, the first thing she did as her means of messing with this was she decided to get really snuggly. And that I can't complain about because, I mean, I am not a monster. That, you'd have to be some sort of messed up monster to have an issue with that. So Zora came and she was like, snuggling and then like really aggressively snuggling. And then when I wasn't being sufficiently interesting because I was trying to sleep, she decided she was going to play with Potter, which meant that the two of them were running around the house, barking at each other at full volume. And I'm like, you cute little bastards. So I didn't get any sleep. I am feeling tired and punchy, and so I have some thoughts about today. People are like, did you rehome the dog? God, no. As much as Zora is an absolute little shit sometimes, I love her to bits. The other thing that she's been doing, so Mrs. Runkle is a little bit annoyed at me right now, and it's kind of my fault. So I had some electricians in to dig a trench to go to the so that there'd be a cable that runs to the garage that isn't Zora chewable. And anyway, Zora's not happy with that, but the electricians left instead of like tamping down the earth where the trench was, it's like a big mound of broken earth. There's also like holes cut in the wall, so I'm gonna have to fix those in a hurry before that becomes an issue. But Zora loves the dirt now, and that has been a whole thing. So what did we see today? We saw a whole 2 witnesses. 2 witnesses. It was not exactly super thrilling. And of course, both are like McCabe Alberts because everybody is McCabe Alberts in this. We also, and people are saying not even a whole 2 witnesses. We really just saw 1 witness because it was like the second half of 1 witness followed by the first half of another. Now, the beginning of this is actually before we get to any of the witnesses. So we actually saw a bit of, I guess, lawyering is the way to phrase it. Like normally a lot of this has been off screen where we can't see it in sidebars and so forth, but they had a motion about the evidence that got in last time. the evidence specifically of the, like, we are so harassed, we are very much in trauma and whatever else, which, to be fair, they probably are feeling like they I guess I believe that they are legitimately upset and sad and all of those things, but it's also super prejudicial to the defense. And so let's watch that, because I have some opinions, I have some thoughts. Yeah, I have some thoughts. So we're gonna start with the fan, everybody's favorite fan. We're all fans of the fan, and hopefully you guys can hear it once it starts up. Once we're not getting the
Counsel wanted to see me at sidebar.
We don't need to be seen at sidebar, Your Honor, but I do need to be seen about an issue from yesterday.
So you'd like to be heard?
Well, yes, I would.
Okay, I'll hear you.
The judge is like, so you'd like to be heard? And he's like, well, yes. I feel like the defense gets a little bit more of the snark from the judge than the prosecution does. So let's have a look at this. This is a thing.
What is it about?
Your Honor, we are not only renewing our objection to the alleged harassment evidence that came in yesterday, but we're specifically moving to strike that testimony and specifically asking the court, before we get started today, to instruct the jury that they are to disregard that evidence. And I wanted to point out to the court that it is our view, we didn't even come close to opening the door to that evidence. I had just asked the witness if she had turned over those text messages to the state police when she spoke to them on August 25th of 2023. I've asked every witness when was the first time that they spoke to the state police. That was the first time Ali McCabe spoke to the state police. None of that conversation had anything to do with harassment whatsoever. It was strictly related to the death of John O'Keefe and the investigation of John O'Keefe. I stayed completely clear of any discussion of harassment whatsoever. I only focused.
I agree. He didn't mention the harassment. He didn't mention any of this stuff, right? He didn't get into it. And I was looking at it and going, to the extent that there's anything that you could argue was opening the door, it's so far away from what seems like opening the door to something so incredibly prejudicial. And somebody says, is this yesterday or today? It's actually both, because it happened yesterday, but the prosecution goes there again today. So let's have a watch here.
On the federal grand jury and the approach by the state police on August 25. I opened no door. I didn't even approach the door. And yet that evidence came in. It led to a moment where, that Mr. Lally, I believe, has been waiting for, which is for a witness to break down on the stand and feel sorry for themselves to gain sympathy before this jury. It was prejudicial to our.
That, I think, was that Mr. Lally has been waiting for. I don't know that turn of phrase was serves him the best here. Generally, you're at your best if you're not taking shots at the other lawyer. It's usually not a fantastic move unless you've really got the cards. I would have left that out, I think, but I don't know. He's legitimately upset here. I also do think it's kind of interesting, because that is the moment when a witness breaks down. Not over John O'Keefe's death, not over the fact that maybe they could have done something, not over anything. It's over, that they have been treated badly. And that's the moment a witness breaks down. So I think the defense can turn that around here. I think the defense could use that and say, like, listen, they have not felt like they have mentioned, his children being orphaned. They haven't, they didn't shed a tear. They've mentioned, his death. They didn't shed a tear. They mentioned passing by him as he was dying in the snow. They didn't shed a tear. What did they shed a tear for? Themselves. Because this has been hard on them. I think he can, spin that in his clothes. So we'll see. Because it's the only time where we've seen that kind of emotion.
Client is prejudicial to our defense. It is error, and we're asking the court to correct it.
All right. What do you say, Commonwealth?
Your Honor, counsel absolutely opened the door as far as the questioning was concerned. It was not just the characterization of the questioning is just simply inaccurate. As far as
okay, Lally, you're saying he opened the door. What did he say that opened the door? What was it that opened the door?
The questions that were posed to the witness, it was more geared towards why, implying that the witness only provided this after testifying at the other proceeding or being questioned about it in that environment. And that's the only reason that she had these messages. And why hadn't she turned these messages over earlier? And that is in direct response to the harassment that that witness and her entire family, as well as Mr. Albert, had sustained as a result of actions by several different parties, including counsel. So,
and the thing is you can get to that without going into, I don't think that the door is opened in that sense. She could say, I turned these messages over later because I realized they were significant. I didn't realize they were important until later. That's fine. But going into detail about the harassment, just saying, she could have said, I didn't realize they were important until people started pointing the finger at, Colin. That's it. But when she starts going to, when she starts going into the details of the harassment, I'm like, that's a whole additional other step.
For those reasons, it was proper. There was nothing, I don't think it was more than 5 minutes of testimony concerning it. And it was.
And the thing is if you look at Lally's question that elicits this wasn't why did you release these texts later? It was very specific about what have you suffered since then? Come on. Your question wasn't addressed to the texts. It was addressed to getting that response.
It was because counsel opened the door to it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Ms. Giannetti, I remember clearly the lines of inquiry that you initiated. So I disagree with you in the strongest way possible. You've made your record. Your motion's denied.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So let's talk a little bit about how rulings should be, because he is she just says, I remember what you said. I disagree with you in the strongest way possible. You've made your record. The motion is denied. None of that actually addresses the substance of what he said. What was it that opened the door? How do you, if you're an appeals court looking at this later, how do you look at that ruling and go, okay, how do you address her reasoning? Because her reasoning is just no. That's just her reasoning. So I don't know. I'm getting some things about people saying that they want the court volume up. I can try to do that.
Okay, so let's bring in the jurors.
We're going to try to turn up the court volume a little bit. Sorry, folks. It'll just take me half a second here. Try to do this without blowing up people's ears. There we go.
Yes.
Now let's talk a little bit about, as well, people are saying, well, can they fix this on appeal? Here's the problem on appeal. On appeal, they'll say, well, this wasn't sufficient, significant enough to warrant overturning the verdict. So if Karen Reed is convicted, they might say this is a mistake, this is an error, but they won't go and I don't know that they will grant a new trial on the basis of that error, because appeals courts are always kind of reluctant to give new trials. So yeah. People are saying that made me real loud. Okay. I don't like the zooming on the families. Yeah, I mean, the thing that I would do with this at the end of the day, I would use this on the close. I would be saying, like, you saw a motion from the state's witness or the Commonwealth's witnesses. The only time you saw a motion is how this affected them, not the death, not the impact on the children. For that, they were calm and collected. But but they didn't like the idea that their reputation might be harmed, that people thought poorly of them. So yeah. All legal systems are flawed.
All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Robert.
All right, so we've got him. Is that the same shirt that he's wearing, just with another sort of jacket over top of it? I don't know, but anyway, this is Colin Albert. Here for round 2. He's here for cross-examination. We're going to watch his cross-examination. We're going to speed it up just a touch, just to 25% more. Do I feel the judge is biased against the defense? I don't know if she's actually biased, if this makes sense, because the test is not actual bias. The test is whether or not there is a reasonable apprehension of bias. And I think I could make, on appeal, the reasonable apprehension of bias argument. I think that I could manage to swing that. So,
Mr. Albert, who did you talk to in order to prepare for your testimony starting yesterday?
Can you rephrase that question, please?
Rephrase the question.
So who did you talk to prepare for your testimony? And he's already like, can you rephrase the question? So guys, we have some new emojis. I have some new member chat emojis. So the first one is the red solo cup. We already had like the Zora and Potter, and we had the pigeon business emoji. So those were already there, but we added the red solo cup, which I just sort of demonstrated. But we've got some additional extra ones as well. We've got one for Secret McSquirrel there, which is a squirrel with a blue wrench mod. But I also added one more. And I don't know if it's a good emoji, but this is the brain worm emoji. I think it might be useful for sort of the Canton Brain Worm, which might also occur somewhere else. We've got a brain worm emoji. So the brain worm emoji is basically for stuff like this, where suddenly, once they're on cross, all of the witnesses just seem to have these like holes in their brain where things like the ability to understand simple questions go, and like the ability to remember things like what are they doing right now and what were they doing 15 minutes ago. And so I feel like there is a serious issue of brain worms that is going on in this trial. But as I mentioned on Twitter, the good news is that the brain worms are curable. There's like this miracle cure for the brain worms. Every witness that has suffered the whole brain worm problem, where they suddenly can't remember anything and they don't know what's going on and they don't know how they got here, and can you rephrase that very simple question? I don't recall that very simple thing. It just goes away like a miracle, like Jesus coming down to lay his hands upon people, or whichever religious figure is your preference. On redirect, they're just like miraculously healed. The healing touch of ADA Lolly is able to restore their faculties, and they are good to go again. But right away, right at the beginning, it's all brain worms all the time.
You didn't understand my question?
No.
Okay. Who did you speak to in order to prepare for your testimony yesterday?
My lawyer.
Other than your lawyer, who did you speak to prepare for your testimony yesterday?
No.
And he's like, other than your lawyer, because we're not getting into solicitor-client, privilege. But yeah, he says, other than that, what's his answer?
My lawyer.
Other than your lawyer, who did you speak to prepare for your testimony yesterday?
No one.
You didn't speak to your parents?
No.
You didn't speak to your mom, your dad?
Nope.
At any time before yesterday about your testimony or your statements?
Nope.
Did you discuss with your parents their testimony?
No.
So after they got off the witness stand, your dad didn't come.
So they didn't talk at all, he says. I didn't talk to anybody except my lawyer. How long do you think it's going to be before this gets contradicted? How long do you think it's going to take before this is not true? If you said minutes, you are
Say, here's how
on
my
the
day
board.
went.
No.
Your mom didn't come home and say, here's how my day went.
Nope.
The Albert family just ignored the fact that both of them testified in court of law before a jury about the events of January 29th, 2022. Nothing was ever said.
No.
Did you talk to Mr. Lally at any point before yesterday in preparation for your testimony?
Before yesterday, you said?
Correct.
Yes.
Tell me when.
Want to say a month ago about.
What did you talk about?
I got prepped for this.
Tell me what that means. What does it mean?
Who did you talk to in preparation for your testimony? No one at all except for my lawyer. How about Lally? Oh yeah, Lally. It's like, okay, yeah.
To prep for this.
What I'm going to be getting asked.
Okay. Remember my first question, very first question this morning? I said, have you spoken to anybody in order to prepare for your testimony? And you said no.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not true. You spoke to Mr. Lally.
Okay. Yes.
He can't help it, folks. He's got the brain worms. It's,
Okay, it's yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. You said that was about a month ago, correct?
Correct. Around a month ago.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Around a month ago. That's it.
Tell me what you and Mr. Lally discussed.
The questions I would be asked here.
Can you be more detailed?
No. Why? Why are you doing this to me?
What you and Mr. Lally discussed.
The questions I would be asked here.
Can you be more detailed?
Give me 1 second. I'm going to see if I can hammer my internet connection for a second with, the maintenance hammer. We're gonna try to do the maintenance hammer on this. So, yeah.
What you and Mr. Lally discussed.
The questions I would be asked here.
Okay, there
Be
we
more
go.
detailed.
Come on.
I don't remember everything he said.
Did he go over the questions that he believed
I don't remember everything he said. Do you remember anything he said? Like,
he would ask?
I believe so.
Did you give him answers to those questions that you believed you would give in response to his questions?
Yes.
What questions did he tell you he was going to ask?
I don't remember.
What answers did you tell him you were going to give?
I don't remember.
That was just a month ago, right?
Yes.
I
Obviously,
don't
you've been
remember
thinking about
anything.
this case quite a bit, haven't you?
Yeah.
Over the last 2.5 years.
No.
How long have you?
Obviously been thinking about this quite a bit. Yeah, over the last 2.5 years. No. Bull crap, right? I'm sorry. If somebody died and I was in any way suggested to be connected with it, like, or if Mrs. Runkle was suggested to be connected with it, or if it was on my freaking front lawn, I would be thinking about it a lot. Like, it would be a thing. Now, the thing is, I don't think he's being honest. That's my impression of him. And I also don't think he's good at being dishonest, because he's just like, what is the best answer in a second? He's not thinking beyond the moment.
Been thinking about this case?
Since people started writing about me on the internet.
How about since?
You see, he tries to push it in, right? He's squeezing it in for them, right? But that said, some of the internet coverage might be harming the defense. Some of the internet coverage might be acting to the detriment of the defense. And I think that there's some questions about whether or not that is, how that's going. So, yep.
You were at a house where an individual ended up dead on the lawn the next morning. Did that prompt you to start thinking about this case?
No.
Not so much, huh?
Nope.
Wow. Not so much, huh? Yeah, that, that is, I would be thinking about it. So yeah.
Did you speak with, when Mr. Lally spoke with you, who else was there?
The witness advocate, I believe, and
Steve Nelson?
yes.
Who else?
And is it Sergeant Tully, I believe?
Tully, T-U-L-L-Y?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Anybody else?
Not that I remember.
Sergeant Tully taking notes while you were having this conversation with Mr. Lally?
I do not remember.
Mr. Lally taking notes?
I do not remember.
Do you remember being told by either Sergeant Tully or Mr. Lally that your conversation was being recorded?
I do not remember.
How long was that meeting?
So he doesn't remember anything.
Say 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Were you given any instructions by either Sergeant Tully or Mr. Lally about your preparation for your testimony?
Can you rephrase that, please?
Sure. Did they give you any instructions about your the preparation for your testimony? How they wanted you to answer questions? The tone and tenor of your testimony?
No.
How they wanted you to dress, for instance?
No.
How they wanted you to dress. I mean, what's the phrase that really, when I saw sort of how he was dressed versus, like the difference between how he's dressed here versus like in some of the video that we're going to see, I'm just like, this feels a little, Stepford Wivesy kind of dress, like really, really, he's dressed like Sunday school. He's dressed too choir boy. He's dressed, and it's very different than his usual style. That said, if I have a client or a witness and they say, did you get any advice on how to dress? I hope to God they're going to say yes, because I do advise clients and like friendly witnesses and so forth as to how they should dress. Like I say, you should dress in a fashion that is respectful to the court. And if I was this witness, like assuming, I assume that he did get some things about how to dress, right? Please don't show up in court, for court in a shirt that says F the police. That would not be cool, right? Please don't show up in a shirt that says, that has a picture of a nude woman on it, because that has happened and it's not a good idea, right? I tell people this, and I assume like Lolly's not an idiot. I assume he's probably giving, maybe he isn't, right? I don't know for certain, but it seems likely that he would be, and I'd be, so if and I don't know what like happened with Lolly or whatever. I'm just kind of guessing at things here. But if I tell a witness like you should dress nicely for court, show respect to the court, and they get asked, did Mr. Runkle tell you how to dress for court today? For the guy to say, well, he gave me some tips. He said I should dress up because it shows respect to the court. Fan freaking tastic. So all right, JCB's back and already earning a timeout. JCB, you could be respectful or you could be elsewhere, but you got to pick. It's one of those. All right, so let's keep going.
Other than that time a month ago, have you spoken with Mr. Lally or anybody from the DA's office since then, before yesterday?
No.
You watched any coverage of this case?
I'm going to have a little less patience for trolls today because, come on.
Online?
Nope.
No social media?
No, I don't have social media.
No news, coverage?
Nope.
Nightly news, Channel 25, Channel 5?
No.
National news?
Nope.
Blogs?
Nope.
So he says he hasn't seen any coverage of this, and I'm going, how the fuck do you live in Canton and you see nothing about this, right? Obviously he would have, sorry. I find that suspicious. I find that, and the thing is, he could have said, I could have avoided, I tried to avoid the coverage, but obviously there's coverage, right? And yeah.
So literally, according to you, you know zero about the media coverage concerning this case, Commonwealth versus Karen.
Correct.
So you know zero about the media coverage. Except you already testified, didn't you, that there was an issue with the blogs covering this case? So how do you know zero if you know about the blogs covering this case? Like, you know at least more than zero. Like, you've at least heard of the blogs. You've at least heard of Turtle Boy, right? Like, okay.
Did you talk to Allie before her testimony?
No.
When was the last time you did talk to Allie before she testified yesterday?
I don't remember.
Give me an idea. She's one of your best friends. A week ago, a day ago, a month ago.
I do not remember.
Could have been
The Canton Brain Worm strike again. He doesn't remember.
a year ago.
I do not remember.
Could have been 5 years ago.
No.
Okay. So it's more recently than 5 years ago that you spoke with Allie.
I don't remember.
It's more recently than 5 years ago that you spoke with Ellie, who he has agreed is one of his best friends. And then it's like 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. He says, I don't remember. come on.
So you have no independent recollection as you sit here, the last time you talked to one of your best friends and your cousin about any subject.
No, I don't remember.
Were you ever told in preparation for your testimony?
He needs medical attention, folks. Like, I mean, I don't know what happened in this hearing, but I know this is not a credible witness. And so now I have to take a second for this. Jeremy Morton, thank you, saying, I can't keep watching this with that terrible motion denial at the beginning. Yeah, that hurt. So yeah, all right, on to more brain worms.
If you start to get stumped or nervous, just say, I don't remember.
Nope.
Nobody ever told you that?
Mm-mm. No.
No?
No, sorry.
It's okay. So nobody ever informed you that you might get nervous on the witness stand, there might be tough questions. Easiest way to get out of that is just say, yeah, I don't recall.
No.
So you just don't recall because your memory is that bad.
So he's denying this. Do you think the jury is maybe having a little seed planted in their head? A seed, not a brain worm. Those are different things. That every time a witness is saying, I don't recall, that it's to weasel out of a question? Of course, that's the suggestion that the jury is going to pick up here.
You literally don't recall the last time you spoke with Cal.
Objection.
Ask that differently, Mr.
Sure.
Jackson.
Sure. Your testimony is you were not instructed to say, I don't remember. You just literally don't remember.
Correct.
It's an issue with your memory, not an instruction that you received.
Correct.
Right.
Now, here's the other thing. Like, he's a witness who's, it's like, oh, so your evidence is kind of worthless then because you don't remember a damn thing, right? Yeah. I like this. I was looking at this going, is somebody snarking? Because, and if they are, is it a reasonable snark? Come on, Runkle, go easy. The kids just found out today for the first time that O'Keefe died on his uncle's lawn 2 years ago. I think he's like, if this is as good as his memory is, he finds out things for the first time like 6 or 7 times. So, yeah.
But you do remember.
That's an issue with YouTube.
2.5
I'm
years
trying
ago,
to do something
you
about
left
it.
34 Fairview at 12:10 a.m., right? Down to the minute.
Correct.
You see this? This is how you deal with the I don't recall. You bring in the contradiction. You show, you shine a light on the contradiction between you say you've got perfect memory down to the minute on this issue. But when I start answering you questions, suddenly you don't remember a damn thing. Huh, how about that? Isn't that strange? Isn't that weird? And the jury's like, yeah, that is weird, isn't it? So, yeah.
Did Mr. Lally, during this meeting that y'all had, did Mr. Lally show you anything? Items of evidence, photographs, videos, anything like that?
No.
Did you two talk about any evidence that you might see? Photographs, documents, videos?
Not that I remember.
He didn't show you the series of text messages between you and Miss McCabe, Allie?
I don't remember.
Okay, so you're not saying he didn't. You're just saying, again, you just don't remember.
Correct.
Okay. And this was just a month ago.
Around a month. Correct.
Could have been sooner than a month. Or, let me ask that a different way. Could have been more recently than a month.
I don't know.
Don't know that either.
Mm-mm.
Is that no?
Yeah, no.
So, Mr. Albert, you have to answer yes or no, not just.
All right, sorry.
Where were you when this meeting?
I'm just going to note, this is not a problem that just exists with this witness. This is a problem that exists with every witness everywhere. Witnesses love to answer, like, is one thing. Is another. Is even worse. I had a witness who would answer like a straight up grunt. He would just give a grunt of assent. Now, to be fair, that was a guy who actually had brain injuries instead of a guy who has kind of imaginary brain injuries. Like the Canton Brain Worm is not a real animal. It's not a real creature that might like sneak into your skull at night. But the, you know, it's a problem because you need to have an appeal record, right? You need to have an actual, basis to, to review things later. And so when you've got a witness who just goes, and gives like a grunt or, that kind of thing, it's actually really problematic because if you don't correct that, then on the record, it just says witness made a noise or something like that. Witness grunts or something. And then you're trying to argue to an appeals court that grunt was a yes. And the appeals court says, well, it could have been, or it could have been a no. Like we don't know. So
A month ago took place.
At the DA's office on Shawmut Road.
Who contacted you to come to the DA's office?
I do not remember that.
Don't remember that either.
No.
Phone call from Mr. Lally, maybe?
I don't believe that I received the phone call. Maybe my lawyer did or my father, but I don't know. I don't believe I did.
So if your father received a phone call and then told you need to go to the DA's office to meet with Mr. Lally, that would be a conversation with your dad about your preparation for your testimony, correct?
I wouldn't say so, no.
You would categorize that as such?
No.
Okay. Because, of course, even though you went to the DA's office to meet Mr. Lally and a sergeant from the Massachusetts State Police to talk about your testimony, you didn't mention that to your dad?
No.
Didn't mention that to your
Video
mom?
seems to be freezing up a little bit.
When you got done with that meeting, Dad didn't ask you, how'd it go, son?
Nope.
Your mom didn't say, how was that meeting?
No.
About this massive murder case?
Objection.
So the objection there is to the characterization of massive murder case, I think.
Ask it a different way. Do you consider this to be a high-profile murder case?
Objection.
Stand on relevancy. Ask it differently.
In your mind, this is an important case, correct? Obviously.
Correct.
But according to you, it just never comes up in the Albert household.
No.
Okay. You were asked to look at a couple of text messages yesterday. It's a little bit like this. You seen that before?
Yes.
When did you see that before?
Yesterday.
Before yesterday? Had you ever seen that before?
On my phone, yeah.
Okay. Other than on your phone when you made the screenshot, had you ever seen that before? Mr. Lally ever showed it to you?
Not that I remember, no.
So you two didn't discuss that in your meeting a month or less ago?
We could have. I don't remember.
But again, you don't remember.
Mm-mm.
Is that no?
No.
Did Mr. Lally tell you why he wanted to question you about those text messages?
I don't remember.
Did Mr. Lally tell you anything about what you might be asked on cross-examination?
No.
Did he ask you about any videos that you've ever posted?
No.
Did he ask you about any comments you've ever made online?
Nope.
Any photos you've ever been in?
No.
So what did he
Fights
ask
you've ever
you?
been in?
Nope.
So you remember?
Who's Courtney Proctor?
So you don't remember anything, but you remember all the things that didn't happen? Okay. I guess that's believable, is it? Right? You remember all the things that didn't occur. All right. I guess that's a vibe.
She's friendly with my aunt, Jillian.
I'm sorry?
My aunt Jillian, she's friendly with.
I thought he
When you
was going to
friendly
say I don't
with,
remember.
Describe that. What do you mean by friendly with?
I know that they're pretty friendly.
Have you ever been to Courtney Proctor's home?
Yes.
How many times would you say over the years?
4 or 5, maybe.
Her family is close to your family, it's fair to say.
Not that close. Close though.
When you say
Not that close. Close, though. What the f does that mean?
not that close, but close though, what does that mean?
I'd say we're more close when I was younger, not when I got older.
Okay. How old are you now? You're 20?
Did something
Correct.
happen?
Um,
I don't know, right? Like, we're just...
May I approach?
Okay.
Another photo I'd like to show Mr. Lowell.
The thing is he's so weaselly here. He's so squirrely that it makes every answer suspicious, right? If you answered this about, like, if I came home and my wife said, "How was your day?" and I said, "I don't recall." Could you rephrase the question? And she's like, "Well, did you have a good lunch?" And it's like, I don't recall. She would be wondering, like, what the heck happened? She'd be like, is there something wrong? Like, what's going on? So,
First. Ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you. Take a look at that photo and tell me if you recognize it. Just look at it to yourself, please. Let me know if you after you studied it for a second.
Yep.
You recognize the photo?
Yes.
Who's in that photo?
Objection.
So the objection sustained as to the content of the photo. Did you want to come to sidebar and explain this to me?
who's in the photo is a great way for him to, I don't know, acknowledge that it's a real photo. Like that. Yeah. There's this beep in the background of it that I'm just like, what is that about? I just hear this beep in the background. I don't know what it is. So. All right. Maybe I've got brain worms too.
May I approach them?
Yes.
There we go.
Thank you. Mr. Albert, approximately when was that photograph taken?
Objection.
No, we can get that, but we'll answer that question.
10 years or less ago, I'd say. I don't.
You were the ring bearer in Courtney Proctor's wedding, were you not?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Correct.
So when you say we're friendly, but not that, or we're close rather, but not that close, you were actually close enough to be a member of her wedding party when she was married to her now husband, correct?
When I was younger, correct.
Well, of course it was when you were younger. It was 10 years ago. Is that yes?
Yeah.
That's my question. So for at least a decade, your family and the Proctor family has been close enough such that you and Albert were in her wedding, correct?
Objection.
Ask that differently, Mr. Jackson.
For the last, well, at least at that time, 10 years ago, your family was close enough to the Proctor family such that you were a ring bearer in Courtney Proctor's wedding, right?
Correct.
And who's Courtney Proctor's brother?
Michael Proctor.
And is Michael Proctor in the photograph that you're looking at?
Yes.
Person on the far left,
Correct.
looks like he's in a tuxedo.
Correct.
You were also in a tuxedo.
Objection.
Sustained.
What I'm getting at is you all were part of the same wedding party, correct?
Correct.
And that's a photograph of Courtney Proctor's wedding and the entire wedding party, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Is that a photograph of a wedding party?
Objection.
Sustained.
Your Honor. May we
What?
approach?
Yes.
All right, so how long is this going to last? It's not fast.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Albert, I want you to look at that one more time. Both you and Michael Proctor are depicted in the photograph, correct?
Correct.
How long have you known Michael Proctor?
Since I was a little kid.
And you've known him well enough to know, I don't want you to tell me or tell
There's that sigh is like, oh, I got a straight answer.
the jurors, but you know where he lives.
Yeah.
You consider the Proctor.
Like, he takes such a lengthy time to answer these. The one other thing I wonder if he was advised, and I sometimes advise clients to do this. Sometimes I advise clients to kind of slow roll their answers, if that makes sense. And the reason why why you do that is to say, take a beat before you answer. Like, just before you answer, like, take a breath and release. And the reason why is so that I can object if I want to object, right? I'm wondering if he was told that.
Family close to your family.
Yeah.
During the course of, for instance, just as an example, during the course of this event, joyous event at a wedding, you actually sat at the head table along with the Proctor family because you were given the honor of being a ring bearer in Courtney's wedding, correct?
Correct.
And you know, of course, that being in a wedding party is reserved for those special family members and friends, correct?
Objection.
Sustain.
In your mind, was that a special honor?
Objection.
Is that what you thought when you were little? When you were in that?
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the time when the prosecution has objected to the question. This is the time when he's like, yeah, no, that's true. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't think that is a huge, I'm not going to trumpet that like that's a huge win for the defense or something. I just thought it was funny that the one time that he does say, oh yeah, I do agree with that, is something that Lally was fighting to keep out. It's like, okay, like it's just weird.
And you were never interviewed by Canton Police Department in connection with this case, correct?
No.
How many times were you interviewed by the Massachusetts State Police in connection with this case?
Once.
And that was in July of 2023, correct?
I don't remember exactly when it was.
About a year and a half after the events in question. Is that right?
Around there.
Okay. Would it refresh your recollection if you saw a copy of a report of that interview? Just to get the date?
Sure, yeah.
May I approach on?
Yes.
I may have just a moment longer.
Yes.
Take a look at paragraph 1. It's in the middle of the paragraph. If you'll just read that to yourself, please.
So now he's reading this over.
You got that?
Yeah.
You saw the July 18 date,
Yes.
2023?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection that was the first time you were
Yes,
interviewed by the
although,
Massachusetts State Police?
Correct.
May I approach on?
Yes.
Thank you.
If you want to get cross-examnesia merch, that'll be Legal Bites is going to come out with some of that. So I'm not going to steal her thunder on that.
Who conducted that interview?
Michael Proctor and one of his partners, I believe. I don't remember.
Michael Proctor was the lead investigator that interviewed you, correct?
Correct.
That's the same Michael Proctor that appears on the far left of the photo of that wedding party, correct?
Correct.
Did you find that interview, by the way, how long did the interview last, Michael Proctor?
I do not remember.
Do you remember testifying at one point that it was about 10 minutes?
He's like, this is the moment of like, oh shit. Oh, he's got my testimony.
No.
You testified at a different hearing, a different proceeding, not this proceeding, one other time, correct?
Correct.
I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
I need a foundational question first. I apologize. It's my fault, Mr. Albert. Do you believe it would refresh your recollection as to the length of that first interview if you were to see your testimony from a prior proceeding?
Yeah.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Thank you. Take a look at this, and I'm going to direct your attention to line 18 and 19 of that transcript. Let me know when you've reviewed it. Is that yes?
Yeah.
May I?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
How long was that interview?
Holy crap. Holy crap. Something's refreshing his recollection.
Which interview are you?
The interview that you had with Michael Proctor. That's what that question was about, that you just read.
I still don't remember.
You recall that it says that you testified, question, how long did
Objection.
the interview last for?
Objection sustained where his memory is not refreshed. You can do this differently, you know that.
Did this refresh your recollection as to the question and answer, how you answered the question, how long that interview lasted?
Yes.
Did you say 10 minutes?
Yes.
So during the course of that 10-minute conversation that you had with Michael Proctor, what was the tone of that interview? You understand what I mean by tone?
I do not understand.
Okay.
You don't understand what tone means. Okay. So the jury's either got to believe that this guy is real dumb, like, or that he's deceptive. And I mean, to be fair, it is kind of persuasive that he might be real dumb, but yeah.
Was it hostile and accusatory?
Not that I remember, no.
Was it antagonistic or confrontational?
Can you use different words, please?
Sure. Was he
Antagonistic or confrontational? He's like, can you use different words? It's like, are these difficult words? Do we need to get you like a dictionary here, or
being mean?
No.
Okay. He was being nice, right?
Professional, I'd say.
Yeah.
he was being nice? Was he being mean? No. Was he being nice? It's like, at some point, I feel like Jackson's gonna have to break out the hand puppets and, like, maybe just like slip a shoe off and put on a sock and just be like, So now, is he going to college? Did he graduate high school? Did he like?
Because you've known him almost your whole life, right?
Yes.
He was friendly and cordial,
Correct.
and the interview was comfortable.
Say it again.
The interview was comfortable.
Correct.
You didn't feel like you were on the hot seat.
No.
How you feeling now?
Did you find that the interview with Michael Proctor was consistent with the relationship that you've had with him your whole life? Meaning, he's always been friendly to you. He was just as friendly in that conversation.
Not really, no.
How is he different?
I'd say more professional.
Okay. Obviously, he was doing a job, correct?
Correct.
But when you walked in, you recognized him.
Yes.
He recognized you.
Yes.
You made natural greetings with one another, correct?
Correct.
Questioned you about a few things.
Correct.
He didn't look at your phone. He didn't ask to take your phone away from you.
No.
He didn't ask to seize your phone or seize any other physical items from you.
No.
You weren't asked to come down to the police station and sit in an interview room or an interrogation room, were you?
No.
Matter of fact, where did the conversation take place for those 10 minutes?
In the DA's office on Shawmut Road.
DA's office on Shawmut Road. Who else was there other than Trooper Proctor and his partner at the time, Trooper Clark?
Can you
Who
repeat?
else was there? Was it just Trooper Proctor, Michael Proctor, and Clark?
Yes.
Okay, so it was just the three of you.
Yes.
And Trooper Proctor was the one that was sort of leading the conversation.
Yes.
And then when it was done, he said, "You're free to go."
Correct.
And he didn't take your phone.
Nope.
He didn't ask you to look at any text messages.
Nope.
He didn't look through your phone.
Nope.
He didn't take any screenshots or videos of your phone or the contents of your phone.
Nope.
Just let you walk out.
So you see, he's like, this is going towards the investigation, right? And going towards what's what's going on these things, right? So yeah, it's significant. So he's basically trying to poke at the fact that they really haven't sort of done much of an investigation here. Narcissistic, it's possibly his auditory processing disorder. In all fairness, I definitely do, even though my vocabulary is generally extensive, it is sometimes difficult to process what I hear. Generally, those kinds of disorders don't turn on and off depending on which lawyer is questioning you. There's you can get all sorts of witnesses. You can get people with anxiety disorders. You can get people with genuinely bad memories. You can get people who, all sorts of things. The thing is that the people who really have those issues don't fire up as soon as the prosecution is done with them. It's not that that's when it starts up. So a witness who struggles to remember isn't a credibility problem. It might be a reliability problem, right? It might be an issue where you don't necessarily believe their evidence is reliable because their witnesses, because their memory is bad. But when we start talking about credibility, the difference between how they respond to the different lawyers is a big deal. So, yeah.
Correct.
Your Honor, may I publish the photo?
Why don't you come over here for just 1 second?
May I have that, please?
This is somebody watches Ricada, witless prosecution. I didn't think I could dislike someone more than Binger and Big Boy, but the prosecution witnesses in this trial might be worse. Yeah, I mean, Binger loses points because he's actually the lawyer and not the witness, but these witnesses are an issue.
May I inquire you?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Albert, I want to shift gears for a quick second.
Yeah, I don't think he's on the spectrum at all. He behaves very differently with Lally than he does with Jackson. And so I don't think he's on the spectrum. I don't think he's anything like that. If you want to see how he is, you watch him with Lally, right? That's the thing. And when you see the difference in his testimony, that suggests that's an issue. But yeah, no, I don't think he's, autistic or anything like that. There's a reason why I go with like the fantastic notion of brain worms. The only person I've ever heard of who like actually had brain worms was apparently a U.S. political candidate. I don't understand that either.
On July
yeah.
27th, you and your attorney appeared at a hearing in a separate proceeding, correct?
I don't.
Let me ask it a different way. You testified at a different proceeding, not this trial, but a different proceeding.
Correct.
Okay. You appeared under oath. You appeared with your lawyer. You gave testimony, and that's part of what you looked at a second.
Correct.
Okay. But when you met with Michael Proctor, you did not feel the need to take an attorney with you. It was just you, Michael Proctor, and Investigator Clark, correct?
Objection.
That's sustained.
You were asked yesterday about certain texts with your cousin Allie, correct?
Correct.
Allie is obviously family.
Yes.
But she's more than family. She's also a good friend of yours.
Correct.
As a matter of fact, she's one of your best friends.
Correct.
And at your age, this is not meant to be pejorative, but we're different generations. At your age, your most convenient way of communicating is through text messages, correct?
Correct.
I mean, if you're going to...
He hesitates on that one, but I'm just going to say, when I've represented people his age these days, you don't phone them usually. Like a lot of the time it's like, let's text. So yeah.
Grab a buddy, say, let's meet at the such and such ball field or whatever. You're going to text them, probably not call them.
I'm also going to talk a little bit about witnesses who, let's talk about, autism or spectrum issues and testifying. We'll talk about that for just a brief sidebar because some people have been raising it in the chat. Autistic people tend to be fantastic witnesses. And what I mean by that is that they tend to get up and just give no fucks. They tend to get up and just be like, hey, here's the answer. And this guy is the opposite of that. They tend not to be like, is this going to be embarrassing? I was examining an autistic kid who was a witness, and I asked him, like, you know, what were you doing why were you at home? And his answer was that he had not gone out with his family so that he would have time to, how do I put this? To handle some personal business in a handle kind of way. That was his answer on the stand. Like, he's just like, yeah, no, my parents left, but I stayed because I wanted to. And I was just like, okay, that's an answer. Most witnesses would bullshit around this, right? Most witnesses would not tell you that straight up, but he was just like, and the thing is, the guy was absolutely perfect on, on evidence. Like, he was actually just, he's really what the court wants as the ideal witness, because there was zero varnish. There was zero manipulation. There was zero fudging. If I asked him, did you not have a good view of this at this time? He would give a yes or a no answer based on what was actually happening, right? And it was brilliant. This is the opposite of that. This is like the opposite end of the scale. This is somebody who's weaseling about everything. And no, so the people saying like this guy is on the spectrum, I freaking wish. Like, no, this is the opposite of that. He's not giving straight answers. He's not giving direct answers. And admittedly, everyone is different, right? You're not like defined by your conditions or whatever. So I can't say that every autistic person is going to be that, but that tends to be how the spectrum presents in testimony. And so, yeah.
Either or.
Okay. But texting is pretty common between you and your friends.
Yes.
Texting is certainly common between you and Alan. We've already seen evidence of that, right?
Yes.
And that's generally how you like to communicate with Alan.
I'd say so, yeah.
In fact,
that's generally how you like to communicate with Allie. And then there's this giant, like, we're at 1 1/4, right? Let's take it down to 1 speed. Let's just count off.
Yes.
texting is certainly common between you and Alan. We've already seen evidence of that, right?
Yes.
And that's generally how you like to communicate with Alan.
I'd say so, yeah.
In fact,
I think that's a good 5 seconds that he took to answer the question about how he communicates with Allie. Should have been real easy, right? That's not a hard question. That's not a challenging question. You don't have to like solve a mental Rubik's Cube in your skull to get there, right? It's not like how, you know, he's not like, what is the quadratic formula? It's an easy question, and we get a full 5 count while he's like, no.
when you reached out to her for a ride, there were like 8 text messages back and forth just for a pickup, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, just move your arm.
Sure.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
This is a copy of 81. I just want you to have that in front of you. Your Honor, with the court's permission, please place Exhibit 81 on the screen.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I approach? I need to use the Elmar instead of.
Okay. Is there an objection
May I approach? I just approached, but I need to approach again.
to that?
No, Your Honor.
May I have that back?
I thought you meant approach over here. Do you want the Commonwealth to pull it? Mr. Jackson, do you want the Commonwealth to pull it up for you?
That's a hint. She's like, you're trying to show your cell phone, apparently, or something, and this is completely unreadable. Do you want Lally? He's got his tech down. Sometimes the tech can be an issue.
I'd be happy to, Your Honor. It's fine.
That'd be great.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman.
And the thing is Lally, of course, is like, I'd be happy to, because this is an essential thing about lawyering. Is you got to be cordial, and even though they don't like each other, I don't think they're still like able to work in the courtroom.
Can I approach the witness? Just
Yes.
mark copy? Okay. You see what's displayed on the screen?
Yes.
It's only part of the text string, but does that look like it's an accurate representation of what you're looking at?
Yes.
And this is a series of texts on or about January 28th and 29th of 2022, is that right?
Yes.
And Mr. Albert, you needed something as simple as a ride. You were just asking Ali to give you a ride, is that right?
Yes.
And it's because you said that it's common for you guys to text back and forth. You just texted her, hey, you can get me now, is that right?
Yes.
And then you texted if it's easier, and then she said, okay, I'm dropping people off, and there was an exchange back and forth. Is that right?
Yeah.
And there were at least 8 texts between the two of you, if you just count them up real quick, just about getting picked up.
Yeah.
If you scroll down a little bit, after the end of that text string, that ends at 12:10 a.m. and it says, okay. You see the next date?
Yes.
What date is that?
February 20th.
That's nearly a month later, correct?
Correct.
So there was a gap after January 29th, 2022, when you found out that a man had ended up dead on your uncle's lawn.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to vanish.
And you and Ali did not text each other for a month, not once.
Objection.
Sustained as to that form. Ask it differently.
This is odd, right? They're best friends. They've acknowledged that he's acknowledged that their preferred form of communication is text, or they're really good friends. And it goes from January 29th to February 20th. That's odd. Now, I got to say, it's odd for his age, because I have good friends who I don't talk to that often. One of my good friends, I'm not going to name her, but we'll go with B. We're great friends. Like, we really enjoy each other's company. She comes over, like me, my wife, her, and somebody else will play board games. We'll drink. We'll all of these things. But I talk to her like every couple of months. That's fair, right? That's kind of what happens. That's kind of what happens when you are old like me. I'm not. No, it's just an initial. That's it. And I didn't want to go with like first and last initials. So, but like, I don't know, Rob, I send messages to all the time. Right now, Rob is super busy, so I'm not hassling him because he's in the middle of a move. But yeah, the other thing that I see chat is getting there before I was, but the other thing that's really interesting is you see this big block of nothing, right? This big nothing here. And then you see on a Zoom, out of nowhere, I don't know. Let's do an experiment. Where's my phone? Got my phone. I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to annoy one of my friends with an experiment. I'm going to be a bit of a wanker. I don't think she's watching this, but the B that I just mentioned, I'm just going to send a text out of nowhere. We're just going to do a little experiment right now. Once this phone is actually starting to die, so I may actually need to replace it sooner rather than later. All right. Haven't sent a message in a while, but I'm just sending a message that says nothing more than on a Zoom. That's all I sent just now. I'll let you know when we get a response as to what that says, because that's a weird way to start a conversation, right? If she's watching the stream, she'll be like, stop using me as an example for this. But I suspect she's going to say something along the lines of, was that intended for me? Heck, maybe I could send it to a few different people because, yeah. Normally, you might send something back like on a Zoom for like when there's a discussion or something like that, right? So I don't. People are saying sample size is important.
On January 29th, later in the day, you found out about John O'Keefe and his condition, the fact that he died.
Objection.
Is that true? Did you find out that day?
Yes.
Okay.
So you were well aware of, thank you. We can take that down. You were well aware, Mr. Albert,
Who else can I send this to?
something very tragic had happened at your uncle's house, Brian Albert's house, right?
Correct.
And you were aware that you had been at your uncle's house that night, right?
Correct.
I haven't talked to Kurt in a while. I'm gonna send one to Kurt just to see what he says.
You're also aware that, according to you,
He's
Alan
been
McKay
watching,
was the
but
one
I don't
who
know
picked you
what
up and
he's,
took you from that location.
Correct.
And notwithstanding the fact of this tragedy, you and Allie didn't text each other one time for a month.
Oh, Kurt might be streaming. Okay. Oh,
I don't think that's correct.
So where are those texts?
We text on other platforms too. So I'd say other apps.
So is there a reason why you decided for the next month to just switch platforms to maybe Snapchat?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No reason.
Are you sure that you switched platforms?
I'd say so, yeah.
Why did you switch platforms?
We go back and forth, I'd say, between platforms texting.
You switched platforms because you know that Snapchat deletes all communications, correct?
Objection.
Ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
Do you know that Snapchat has an auto-delete function on it?
If your app is set to that, yes.
Your app was set to that, wasn't it?
I do not remember that.
Oh, miracle. He doesn't remember. He doesn't remember. That's a first.
So again, your memory is failing you.
Can you rephrase that?
Sure. Once again, your memory is failing you. You
Objection.
don't remember.
Objection.
Ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
Isn't it true, Mr. Albert, that you either switched platforms or deleted the texts because you did not want your text communications with Alan McKay to be discovered?
Objection.
Overruled.
Is that right?
That's not true.
So where are those communications?
I do not know.
Can't produce them right now, can you?
I'm not sure.
So in the days, the hours, and days and weeks following the death of John O'Keefe, your communications with your best friend, Allie, the person who gave you a ride home that night, they're just gone, right?
I'm not sure.
He doesn't know. He doesn't remember. Yeah.
You testified that you provided Exhibit 81, what we're just looking at, and you're still looking at in front of you, as a screenshot of your communications on January 29th, 2022 with Allie McKay, correct? It was a screenshot.
Can you say that again? Sorry.
You provided that item as a screenshot, not as an actual text to law enforcement. Is that right?
I could believe that he might not understand the distinction here. This one, I'm like, I could see that maybe he doesn't get the difference.
I don't believe so.
Okay, do you know what a screenshot is?
Nothing yet.
Yes.
I'll let you know when it comes in, if it
When
comes
you
in.
take a picture on your phone.
That's a picture from your phone.
Yes.
Okay, so it is a screenshot.
Yes, it is a screenshot.
Okay, that's my question. When you met with Michael Proctor in that interview that lasted 10 minutes, Michael Proctor did not get the actual texts underlying that screenshot, did he?
No.
He never looked for those actual texts, did he?
No.
He never asked you for those actual texts, did he?
No.
And you never volunteered to give him those actual texts, did you?
I think I volunteered to, yeah.
On that day?
Oh, no, not on that day, no.
Not on that day. You know what a phone extraction is?
Not familiar.
Okay. Have you ever heard of a phone imaging or a phone extraction or a forensic extraction? Any of those words sound familiar?
Not really, no.
Michael Proctor never asked you, I think it's fair to say now, given that answer, Michael Proctor never asked you if he could do a phone extraction of your cell phone, did he?
No.
He never asked if he could take a forensic image of your phone, did he?
No.
Do you know what metadata is?
Nope.
You know the dates and times. You take a photo on your phone. Sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time. It'll capture the date and time of the photo. You know that?
Objection.
I'll hear this answer and it may end your inquiry. Do you know that?
Pretty sure I do, yeah.
Have you ever heard of that data, the dates and times and geolocations? Have you ever heard of that referred to as metadata?
No.
Okay, so I'll just use the word date and time.
Okay.
You know that on your phone, if you pull up a text, you can go behind the text and see the date and time that it was actually sent or received, right?
Yeah.
But on a screenshot, you're left with just what's on the screen. You can't go behind the screenshot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You provided just the screenshot, ultimately, not the actual text, correct?
Correct.
But in September of 2023, Michael Proctor's partner, a man by the name of Yuri Buknik, you know that name?
Yeah.
Oh, we know that guy. I'm just gonna say that I feel bad for that particular officer. I feel bad for him because I feel like that officer has now probably gotten a new nickname at work. I feel like that is probably a thing, and yeah.
He contacted you and said he wanted to talk about your text messages, correct?
I don't remember.
Do you remember that you told Yuri Buknik when he asked about the text messages, you did not have the screenshot anymore. You sent it to your father, Chris.
I don't remember that.
Do you recall telling Yuri Buknik if he wanted to get the screenshot, you weren't going to give it to him, he'd have to get it from your dad?
Do not remember that.
You remember Trooper Buknik agreeing with you and saying, sure, I'll just...
I also got to say, I would be feeling so worried if I was the lawyer on this one. You'd just be hearing me hesitate every time because it'd be like, Trooper Buknik, and I'd be doing it very, very intentionally because you wouldn't want to say the wrong thing.
Call your dad and get it from him.
Don't remember that.
You certainly don't remember ever giving Trooper Buknik a copy of that screenshot.
No, I don't remember.
Because you didn't, did you?
I do not remember.
But you did give it to your dad, right?
I do not remember.
Do you remember anything about this case?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll withdraw.
That was a question that was for the jury, right? You've heard the song, what is it? I'm trying to remember the name of where it starts out like, this is a song for the ladies. I'm speaking to the men, but it's a song for the ladies, right? This is a question for the jury. I'm speaking to the Weasley witness, but it's a question for the jury. Do you remember anything about this case? Like, that's what it's about.
To this day, you've never been required to present your phone to any law enforcement agent, have you?
Nope.
It was never imaged. It was never downloaded.
Nope.
You still have the same phone?
Yes.
If you had the actual texts on your phone, why did you provide law enforcement with just a screenshot?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
I'm not sure.
You were shown a photo yesterday of you in February of 2022 with your aunt. Remember that photo? Mr. Lally showed you that photo?
Correct.
And he said he wanted you to pay special attention to your face and hands and extremities. Asked you if there was anything unusual about that.
Yes.
You said no. In that photo, absolutely nothing unusual in February 2022 about you, your face, your hands, fists, nothing, right?
Correct.
All right, so this is getting to some interesting stuff, because this is the defense theory so far as we can see here, is basically that he got some injuries by punching a specific person, right? So this is where this is going.
I want to draw your attention to February 26th, same month, less than a month after the incident. You were at a place called Fenway Johnny's with your buddies, weren't you?
Correct.
Then I have two documents I'd like to mark for identification with the court's permission to show Mr. Lally.
Okay.
1 and 2.
EE and FF.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
present these to the witness.
Yes.
May we approach?
I may as well see them. I'll end up seeing them anyway.
All right, we got another. Oh, this is taking a while. All right, now we're back.
So you're putting it in evidence before you display it?
May I approach one more time?
Yes.
Surround. Sir, do you recognize those two documents?
Yes.
Taking a look at the one that's got multiple documents on it, I don't want you to tell me what's on it. Just tell me if you recognize the picture that's in the middle to the right.
Yes.
Okay. And then looking at the second document, which I believe is marked EE for identification at this point, does that appear to be a true and accurate enlargement of the first thumbnail?
Yes.
And those were taken on that photo was taken on February 26, 2022.
Yes.
At the place called, I think it's called Fenway Johnny's, right?
Correct.
May I publish the
Put it into evidence first.
move for the admission of just EE?
So you need to get it to the court reporter.
I'm sorry, just FF? May I approach?
Yes.
EE or FF?
On the other. FF.
Okay, give it to Madam Court Reporter to put the exhibit number on it.
The exhibit 85 in our opinion. Excuse me, FF.
You might say, why is the judge being so particular about this? If something doesn't get properly marked as an exhibit, it is a headache. So yeah, that's what I've heard, that it's the same as
Yes.
the Sacco and Vanzetti trial. I don't know for certain, but that's what I've heard.
You see that photograph that's being displayed?
Yes.
Are you in that photograph?
Yes.
All right, he's got a very different style in this photograph. I mean, like, certain things he's obviously not going to be wearing in the courtroom. Probably not going to wear that kind of shirt into a courtroom. Fair enough. But like, I don't think it's unreasonable to say, like, yeah, I dressed up for court. You're definitely not going to be wearing the reverse hat. which now every time Rob has his hat on backwards, I might have to try to pull up this picture to be like, hey, Rob, you got great style. Look who's sharing your style. He's definitely not going to be wearing the into court. He's definitely not going to be wearing the like bar admission wristband is what that looks like to me. That looks like a bar admission wristband to me. So, yeah. Now, the other thing I'm seeing here, I just saw somebody said that it looks like blood on his shirt. I don't know. I suspect that's actually just a logo. But look at his knuckles. Oh, right. There's some idiot in the way of half this picture. There we go. His knuckles are kind of messed up, right? So there we go.
Which person are you?
In the middle.
And about what time of day was it? That's you in the middle?
Correct.
Okay. About what time of day was this taken?
Not sure.
Was it at an event of some sort or just you were at a bar?
Just at a bar.
Okay. I want you to take a look at your right hand. Can you see from there clearly your right hand?
Yes.
What do you notice about your right hand?
It's cut up.
Your knuckles are injured, correct?
Correct.
Now, you didn't take this photo, did you?
Nope.
That photo was never on your phone. In other words, it wasn't a friend of yours that took the photo.
No.
This was taken by an event staff member, is that right?
Correct.
It was later posted on social media, isn't that right?
I love this question that's coming up next. When I heard this question, I went, oh, damn. I like wanted to do like a little, like, a fist bump or a clink of the drink glass there when he asks this question that's just coming up. Cause I was like, huh.
Correct.
You could not access the metadata. You couldn't access the time and date of that photo, correct?
I'm not sure what you mean by
You
that.
couldn't manipulate the time or date this photo was taken?
No.
This photo was completely sort of out of your control, isn't that right?
Correct.
And it was controlled by the event staff at Fenway Johnny's.
Correct.
And on February 26th, less than a month after the incident at Fairview,
The little hint, like, you didn't have the ability to delete this shit. There's just that little subtle hint of like, you didn't have the ability to delete this. Did you?
that's what your right knuckles look like, correct?
Correct.
And this is a true and accurate depiction of your condition on or about February 26th, correct?
Correct.
How'd you get those injuries, Mr. Albert? We can analyze that.
I was at a party, my house party, my senior year, and I remember it being icy out, and it was kind of like a steep hill of a driveway, and I was walking up the driveway, and I slipped down the driveway, and I tried to catch myself, but I had something in my left hand, so I tried to brace myself with my right hand, and I ended up sliding a little bit down the driveway.
What'd you have in your left?
Wow, that's a really coherent memory. Wow, suddenly you're crystal clear again.
hand?
If I remember, it was either my phone or a beverage.
So according to you, you fell on ice and injured your knuckles, as we just saw in that photograph, right across the top of your knuckles.
Correct.
Okay, so I got a question. Is he Donkey Kong? I'm kind of legitimately asking, like, is he Donkey Kong? Because unless you're walking forward like, gorilla style, I don't see this happening. Like, and I'm just trying to think, what happens or what's happened to me when I've got something in my hand and I fall and I try to catch myself. I typically, like, you press that, not that, right? I don't see it. And, I see he was trying to save his drink. If you're trying to save your drink, then typically you're holding that hand up. Like, if you're like, I'm trying to save my drink, think about what happens if you put your knuckles onto the concrete. That is not saving your drink. That is spilling your drink all over the place. This seems like an implausible physical, like, I'm just like, can we, and if they say his drink is in his other hand, okay, then why do you land on your knuckles and not your, not, like, humans have a fall response. When we fall, we space our hands out, not our knuckles. You injure, like, when you get that injury, you get the injury here, not here. So, I just don't see it. Like, I don't see it.
So you fell onto what, pavement, asphalt?
Yes.
And you braced yourself when you fell, your entire body weight, by putting your right hand down in a fist, and you injured your right fist, just the top of the knuckles on your right fist when you fell down.
Correct.
Now, let's do some other geometry on this one, right? Let's do some other, so we've got a flat surface. If you're bracing yourself with your knuckles, you're going to end up with, you're going to end up with a lot of, like, that scraping, not just to the top of your knuckles, but also to the, like, these pads of the fingers, to these ends. Like, none of this makes any sense to me. And, like, no. No. Yeah. It's called a reactive protection reflex. You develop it as an infant. You automatically extend your arms and spread your fingers. Yep. In fact, when I have fallen with my cell phone in my hand, what generally has happened is that the cell phone goes flying. Not, so, I'm just not seeing it here. I'm just not getting it. Sorry.
Seriously?
Objection, Your Honor.
His question is just seriously.
Sustained.
You didn't put your palms down when you fell?
No.
You felt your entire body weight on your right fist and just injured the top portion of your knuckles, correct?
Correct.
Those injuries to your knuckles look an awful lot like the type of injuries that you would get in a
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You ever been in a fight, sir?
Other than with my brothers, no.
You've never been in a fight?
Nope.
Your entire life?
Other than with my brothers, no.
Never hurt your knuckles before?
Not sure what you mean.
Never hurt your knuckles in a fight?
No.
And in this case, when you fell down on the asphalt, it was only the top four knuckles of your right hand, correct?
Correct.
You right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
You box?
Nope.
So you're right-handed, but okay, like, I mean, I guess I drink a lot of the time with my left hand. Fair enough.
I'm sorry, you don't box?
Nope.
You've never boxed?
Never.
You ever practice boxing?
I've hit the bag for like cardio, but other than that, no.
When you hit the bag, is that considered boxing?
I wouldn't say so. Not
It's not jumping
really.
rope, is it, Mr. Albert?
No.
It's not doing curls?
Nope.
Not doing push-ups or calisthenics?
I just realized I got to tweet something at Andrea. Because I gotta know her take on it. So I'm just gonna tweet something at Andrea. I'm gonna narrate it. So tagging Andrea Burkhart. You have the boxing knowledge out of all of us. Do you think Colin Albert's knuckle injuries look like hitting a heavy bag? He says he was doing so without wraps or gloves or anything like that. All right. Boom. There we go. So I will let you know if she responds.
It's hitting a bag, correct?
Yeah.
That's boxing, right?
I'd say yeah.
So now he's like, yeah, yeah. Neither friend has messaged me back yet.
When that
Kurt is
photograph was
streaming, so
taken
he's busy.
at Fenway Johnny's, those knuckles look like they had been re-injured from a prior injury. No?
No.
Just falling on the asphalt.
Correct.
Any other cuts or scrapes from that terrible fall on the asphalt?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll rephrase it. Any other cuts or scrapes or injuries from that fall?
I don't remember.
Just your right knuckles.
Yeah.
You said you've never been in a fight before.
Nope.
Did you post a video? You threatened that you're going to.
Objection, Your Honor.
The objection sustained. I'll see you at sidebar on this. I'm familiar with this.
Okay, so here's the objection. Let me explain what the objection is. He wants to get in the Instagram videos, and prosecution was waiting for this. The instant he says, "Did you post a video?" the Lally's like, objection. He was ready for that. He was waiting for that. He was all good to go. That is possible. I am not the most charismatic person, so it is entirely possible that they're ignoring me, especially when I send them a really weird text. So yeah, Jackson wants to get in these Instagram videos. Lally wants to keep them out. I see people saying text robbery DB. They will know what I'm talking about. So, yeah. What's gonna end up happening is they're gonna enter into a voir dire over these.
So I'm going to send you out for a recess. We have some work we have to do here. It wasn't early enough for me to get you coffee and bagels. I apologize for that. But
So she's telling the jury, bye for now, because all of what happens next, which is some really good, it would have been really good evidence for, would have been really fantastic evidence for the defense, is all out of sight of the jury. And we're going to talk a little bit about the differences in testimony between what he says, like, on this voir dire and what comes out in the actual thing.
we'll be a little bit. So we'll send you out for the morning recess.
All right, to the court, please. Here, follow me. Thank you.
All right. So, Mr. Albert, you stay right where you are. We're going to see a couple of short videos, and then Mr. Jackson will ask you questions, and then Mr. Lally will ask you questions. Then I'll hear from the lawyers, and then I'll take a break, and you'll get a break before we go back. Okay?
Yeah.
Did you have a lawyer present?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right. So the first one, are they both on the same? They're separate.
Separated.
All right. So let's mark them each for identification.
The one I'm holding in my right hand,
Bring it up.
I'll call Advantage.
Okay.
That would be GG for identification.
Thank you.
Good luck. The one in my left hand, with the court's permission, I'll call this Bang Bang.
I'll call this Bang Bang. It's like, ooh, this is fun.
That would be HH for identification.
All right. Thank you. All right, so play GG first, please.
Yes, sir.
Your advantage was, I will beat all your asses. I promise you, I will fuck you all up. Pull up, bitch.
I really hope I don't get knocked off the internet. Oh, I really hope I don't for the. So that's some interesting questions. That's some interesting video. We're going to see some interesting questions there.
Okay, and the next one, please.
You're a bitch, bro. Fuck you now. Fuck you, pussy. Be cool, boy. You be knocked out. Hey, oh, bang, bang.
All right, so you can see how he acts when he's at the bar and he's had a few drinks. Yeah. When he's had a few, he gets a little saucy.
May I inquire, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to take those two videos one at a time. I'm going to call one the advantage voice and one the bang bang video. For purposes of my questioning, Mr. Albert, specifically regarding the advantage voice video, did you recognize it?
Yes.
How did you recognize it?
What do you mean by
How
that?
do you recognize it? Is that you?
Yes.
Okay. When was that taken?
Maybe my sophomore year in high school. Around.
Where were you?
I don't remember.
Okay, so your sophomore year in high school, that's about 3 or 4 years ago?
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
around.
You indicated on cross-examination you've never been in a fight.
No.
Indicating that you have no violent tendencies, no violent proclivities, correct?
Nope.
What were you saying on that video?
That I would beat them up.
Did you say you would beat them up, or did you say, I will fuck you up?
I said I will F you up.
No, you didn't say, I will F you up. What did you actually say?
That I would fuck them up.
This is how you do it. Sometimes you got to do it. Now you might be saying, wait a minute, can you swear in court? You absolutely can. When you're quoting, you can say just about anything when you're quoting. And sometimes you want to make the other person say it. Now, I would have loved to have seen him do this in front of the jury. That's where I wanted to see this happen. But, and in fact, I might have let this slide here in order to make him do this in front of the jury. And Epic 7000 says, Ian, what if you have to quote a slur? Then you got to quote it. Sometimes you got to sometimes you got to drop the hard R N-word if you're quoting a person. But typically, I want to avoid doing that. Typically, what I want to do is I want to CSI Canton, I got the solo cups. Nice. Typically, if I can, I want to make the witness say it. And so, if I've got somebody who, for instance, has dropped the hard R N-word at my client, right? Let's say my client threw a punch at somebody and I'm trying to argue consensual fight, right? That they agreed to fight, which you can do here in Canada. You can agree to have a fight within reason. But my guy throws a punch at somebody. And my guy's version of things is that the reason why he threw a punch is that the guy was squared up in front of him and said, come on, N-word, hit me. Or like, come on, N-word, what are you going to do, right? And so if I've got that guy up on the stand, I'm like, hey, so you two were in front of each other, right? Yes. Isn't it the case that you had that your hands up? I guess, yes. And then it's like, okay, what did you say then? He's like, well, I might have, called him a name. What name did you call him? Well, and I want to make him say it in front of the judge or the jury. I want him to be the guy who gets demonetized, not me. So if you're wondering why I'm not going to drop the word, even as a quote, not really a keen fan of the clips that would arise from that, but also this channel, like this video would go to demonetized, like boom. So, but you want him to say it if you can. If you can't, then then you may have to say it yourself, right? You may have to say it yourself in order to force him to say it. So
You also said something about beating somebody's ass, right?
Correct.
What did that mean?
That I would beat them up.
So when you said, I will fuck you up and I will beat your ass, was that a friendly invitation?
No.
It was a threat, correct?
I don't know if I would call it a threat.
Don't?
I'm not sure.
come on. This again is exactly what you want to see in front of a jury. You want to see you want him to say, yes, it was a threat. But even more than that, you want him to weasel out of it being a threat. Like, no, I don't think it's a threat. Really? You don't think it's a threat? Come on. Come on.
Someone walks up to you. I'm not going to do it. But if someone did, walked up to you and said, I will fuck you up. I will beat your ass. You wouldn't take that as a threat?
If they walked up to me, yeah.
But if they didn't walk up and just shouted it across the street and stood there and said, I will fuck you up. I will beat your ass. That's not a threat.
Jackson is having way too much fun with this. How often do you get to shout that stuff out in a courtroom? Not a lot, right? He's having a lot of fun, and this is, yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you are sure, sir.
All right, so that I'll strike at the Commonwealth standing up and objecting.
I think you are sure, sir.
Were you threatening these Advantage boys guys, whoever they are?
Yeah, kinda.
Were you threatening them with violence?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah. Of course you were threatening them with violence.
In the second video, you said, fuck you a number of times. And then you said, KO, you said, pull up, KO, bang, bang. Right?
Correct.
Explain that to me.
I'm not sure, like, explain what I said.
Someone's gonna have to explain this to me. The Adele, I don't listen to Adele. What is was it just, was that the background music? Was that what was playing in the back? I couldn't recognize the music because I just didn't spot it. Or was there some reference that I was missing? So somebody have to explain that here.
Is that a threat?
Yeah.
Pull up, bitch. Right?
Yeah.
Who are you talking to?
Those same Advantage kids.
Got it. So you're threatening them yet again a second time.
Yeah.
What does pull up mean?
Like, come by.
Yeah, meaning get over here. Right?
Yep.
Because when you do, I'm going to fuck you up. Right?
Yeah.
Meaning I'm going to fight you and I'm going to put you down. Correct?
Correct.
That was your
Now, is like Advantage like a nearby town? Is this like a street gang? Is this like who is this? I don't know who the Advantage kids are.
threat to them.
Correct.
Can we get a
it's a
time on the
hockey.
second one?
Of course.
It's a hockey
When was
team.
the second
Okay.
one the bang bang
I see.
threat made? Before or after the Advantage boys?
I'm not sure.
After?
I'm just gonna say here, you want to pick a fight with a hockey team? You better hope you've got some boxing training, because I ain't gonna throw down with a hockey team. I'll tell you that. Like, the hockey team's got some guys who know how to throw a punch, and they will wreck you. They will. This will be get wrecked. Overly large, not cute child.
Could have been this same night. I really don't know.
Well, you're dressed completely differently, so it's probably not the same night. You would agree with that?
Unless I could have changed my shirt. I do that often.
Okay. So you changed your shirt on the same
I do that often, says the guy who's, isn't he wearing the same shirt as yesterday? I don't know. I mean, I can't throw stones on that. Sometimes I'll wear the same shirt, but it is funny.
Tonight, you just decided to threaten the guys twice.
Also, are you saying that you were at the same bar and you just like brought a change of shirt to the bar? Does anybody do that? Show of hands, chat. How many people have gone to the bar and changed their shirt that night while they're out drinking? You'll see no hands from me, right?
What you're saying?
Maybe.
You're not sure?
I'm not sure.
Was it around the same time frame?
Around, yeah.
All right. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Albert, you do like to fight, don't you?
Nope.
The fact of the matter is, you showed up at another hearing, at another proceeding, to testify, and you showed up with busted knuckles then too, didn't you?
I do not remember.
July 27th, 2023, do you remember being at another hearing?
Yes.
You remember being questioned by some attorneys?
Yes.
You remember the question about the condition of your fist, literally at the hearing?
Yeah.
It was obvious to the person that was questioning you that you had an injury to your fist, correct?
Objection.
That's a statement.
I'll rephrase that. My apologies, Your Honor. You were asked questions by the questioner about the condition, the physical condition of your fist, weren't you?
Correct.
And you claimed at that time, well, let me back up for a second, ask a different question. They were asking because you had open injuries on your right knuckles yet again, didn't you?
Correct.
You said, it must have been hitting a heavy bag, right?
Yeah.
Boxing again.
Hit in the bag, yeah.
Just working out.
Now, I don't know. Isn't half the point of like a heavy bag that it's something that you can hit to not mess up your hands? Like, why would you be hitting something to mess up your hands? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Right?
Yep.
Didn't have any injuries on your left hand though, did you?
No.
How many times have you hit a heavy bag?
I'm not sure.
How many times have you worked out with a heavy bag? That's an unfair question. I'll ask a better one. How many times have you worked out on a heavy bag?
I'm not sure.
When you work out on a heavy bag, you wrap your hands, don't you?
I do not know.
I see. So only your right hand gets injured over and over and over and over again, not your left hand.
I'm not sure.
Even though you punch in the bag with both hands.
I'm not sure.
Yet again, you're right-handed, aren't you?
Yes.
So when you throw a haymaker, your hardest punch, that's with your right fist, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Is that right?
I would say they have equal. They're equal. I don't know.
Oh, I wanted that to be in front of a jury. I wanted that to be in front of, like, you want that to be in front of a jury. I'm just as good, like, I'm just as lethal with both hands. The thing is how do you be just as good with both hands and you only ever get the injuries on one hand, right? You're punching with both hands, but somehow, and you're just as good, you're just as hard with your punches with both hands. You can see I'm clearly not a skilled combatant, right? And you only get the marks on one hand? Seriously? Seriously?
Not sure.
All right, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Albert, sorry about it. When those videos were made, you were a sophomore in high school, is that right?
Around that, yeah.
How old were you when you were a sophomore in high school?
16 years old.
And so that would have been at least a couple years before January 2022, correct?
Yeah.
And as far as within those videos, well, as far as timing, so those videos were around the same time, both sort of same time period within your sophomore year?
Correct.
And relatively close to each other, is that correct?
Correct.
And who or what is an invaluable?
It's a club hockey team.
Fair enough.
And what, if any, relationship did you have with that club hockey team?
None.
And so, as far as what videos you were made and sending, were there any videos from that group that were made and sent to you?
Text messages.
And with regard to those text messages, generally speaking, what do they say?
Just name calling me and my friends, calling us like pussies and stuff like that.
So this
This is when if you want to start shit, you could just be like, well, are you a pussy, sir?
was sort of a back and forth, is that correct?
Correct.
And do you even play hockey?
Nope.
And were these people around your age at that time?
Yeah.
And were they kids from the same town or different?
I don't even know where they're from.
Did you even really know these kids or what their names were or anything like that?
Not at all.
So you're threatening people you don't even know with violence? Okay. Okay.
And was there ever any sort of physical fight or even a physical interaction with these other kids?
Never.
Did you ever even meet them face to face?
Never.
And with regard to...
It's a miracle. His memory is restored.
Mr. O'Keefe, your neighbor who lived at the top of the street when you lived at Seven Meadows, you ever threaten him?
Never.
Did he ever threaten you? Did
Never.
you ever have any sort of back and forth exchange similar to what was up on the screen?
Never.
I have nothing further.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I, very briefly? You indicated, Mr. Albert, that this was your sophomore year in high school. But you were asked that exact same question under oath, the time frame of these videos in that other hearing, weren't you?
I believe so, yes.
You indicated under oath in that hearing that it looked like it was your junior or senior year in high school, correct?
Maybe I'm not sure
Not sure.
exactly what I said.
Your senior
Oh no, he's re-afflicted. He was doing so well a moment ago, and now he's forgotten everything again.
year would have been what year, sir?
2022. 21, 22.
Same year. May
Correct.
I have more, Your Honor?
Yes.
That's all I have this time, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, I will hear you.
Your Honor, if we can make the argument outside the presence of the witness.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm going to ask you to step out of the
This is absolutely the right thing to do, is you ask the witness to be excused so that you can have the argument so that this little weasel doesn't hear the, where you're going, right? He doesn't get all that stuff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, and somebody was saying, what is our new emojis?
Yeah.
New emojis
Okay, yeah,
include
you cannot hear in that background.
No problem.
the brain worm,
I appreciate you giving us the opportunity.
squirrel,
Your Honor, it's very clear that these videos are
The solo
highly,
cup.
highly relevant, given the sanitized
And there's
testimony
also
that
the
this witness
pigeon,
has
which
tried
was there
to
before.
present to this jury. He's indicated that he's never been in a fight, doesn't have any violent proclivities, he doesn't have any violent tendencies. It's not in his countenance to do this. Mr. Lally opened this
So
door.
you only got that through the voir dire.
Understood.
Okay, so the violent tendencies only came in through the voir dire.
Well, that's not true. When in front of the jury, he said, I've never been in a fight.
Okay, but that specific question, you said violent tendencies, it was unobjected to, but that was voir dire.
Understood. Mr. Lally clearly opened the door yesterday. He presented a photograph or a series of photographs with this witness's family. His arm draped over his aunt. He's with his mom, looking very family-oriented, etc. And Mr. Lally went further than that and specifically said, I want you to take a look at your face, your hands, and your extremities. Do you see anything unusual or odd about that? That's why I believe the court allowed, based on the testimony today, allowed the photograph in February of
Advantage Voice is the worst name for a
2022
thing.
of
Yeah.
the actual photo that cannot be manipulated. It's in the hands of a third party of the busted.
Rob saying, by the way, let this serve as a lesson to all teenage jackass kids who go around spouting off. Words you say in the heat of the moment can come back to hurt you. We all learned this lesson at some point. Rob, did you see that he is... did you see that he has the same style as you with the backwards baseball cap?
injured knuckles on this witness's right hand. He then said, "I've never been in a fight." Those two videos belie that testimony. There is no way to look at those two videos and say this is not relevant to the issue of whether or not he has been in a fight.
But tell me how whether he's been in a fight is relevant to an issue in this case. That's what you have to do.
Because the police should have, the Massachusetts State Police should have, if they were doing their due diligence, they should have investigated this young man. They should have investigated every single person that was in that house, in or around the home of where John O'Keefe was found, the Albert home, and they didn't. They did nothing to investigate whether or not there was someone in the house who tended to fight, who wanted to get in physical altercations, who had a propensity to get in physical altercations, who was a fighter by nature, who threatened to fight, who threatened violence. That's what this young man has indicated he does constantly. I'm surprised he didn't show up in this hearing with busted knuckles.
So does this go?
Ooh, that's interesting. Now the one thing he didn't say here is he didn't say that it's possible that Colin Albert killed John O'Keefe. He didn't say that specifically. So that's interesting. He didn't lay it out there in the same way. But yeah, he is hinting at that, but yeah.
Your third party culprit defense.
It goes to both. It certainly goes to both, but yes, it also goes to our third party culprit defense as well. This is a focus of, I believe this.
So the judge is saying, are you saying this is your third party culprit? And he's like, yeah, but also I think we may see the defense back away a bit from the third party. They're keeping it going, but we may see them just say, listen, we don't know what's going on. The third party culprit defense of it's this giant conspiracy. Right now, they don't need to actually argue that in front of the jury because right now the prosecution's not doing a great job of proving the case in the first place. So, yeah.
Should be a focus of the juror's attention in terms of, is there a third party who could have done this that evidence points to that may have done this? Absolutely. This evidence, what we now have, points directly in that it's focused in that direction. So
okay.
Yes, both it should have been investigated and Colin Albert is somebody that the jurors should focus their opinion on or their attention on to determine whether or not he could have or was involved in the death of John.
Could have, right? That's all they've got to establish.
Yes, Ron. Commonwealth would submit did not open the door in reference to this, showing a photograph of someone and what they physically look like. There was no suggestion. The only
and you specifically asked about his hands, dude.
questions that were asked about fighting or anything of that nature were by counsel. So counsel thinks he opened his own door. I don't think that's exactly how that works. This is nothing more than rank speculation. It has nothing, bears no relevance whatsoever to this case. You're talking about something that is dated at least a year, if not two, prior to the incidents in this case.
But what if it's as Mr. Jackson pointed out, the prior testimony, his senior year, which is, of course, is much closer.
Well, I think even assuming that, as far as relevance is concerned, Your Honor, there is no evidence here of a fight at all. There is no evidence that this witness was even present at the house at the same time as the victim. There's no evidence of any animus between this witness and the victim. There is no evidence whatsoever, as I stated, that he was even present at the same place at the same time on the night with John O'Keefe, on the night that John O'Keefe was killed. There is no evidence from even these videos.
I hope that the Advantage boys didn't hear that as well. That might have resulted in a very awkward thing. Now, this is the thing that I always look at is like he's saying there's no evidence that he's like the guy or whatever. It's like the defense hasn't gotten to call their case yet. So let's get this here and yeah.
Of any physical altercation having taken place. So whatever juvenile beef that he and his friends had with individuals from another town, there's no evidence whatsoever of physical altercation. There's no evidence that there's a physical altercation even in this case. So to allow...
I would actually say that right now, there's more evidence of a physical altercation than there is that Karen Reed committed a murder. Because there's photos of, like, I think the photos of the injury went in, which look like, you know, a physical fist fight as opposed to a car accident. You got nothing on Karen Reed into evidence yet, dude. So pot kettle.
Counsel to introduce this purely for prejudicial reasons and to invite the jury to speculate as to what it is essentially does nothing but divert the jury's attention away from the facts of the case and what the evidence of the case is, and more so is just there's no evidence of anything in this case.
All right. May I give it briefly?
Yes.
In terms of evidence of a fight, I don't know what Mr. Lau was talking about. He says there's no evidence of a fight in this case. John O'Keefe looks like he had been beaten to death. He's got 2 black eyes, a laceration over his right eye, a laceration over his nose, a giant wound on the back of his head, and he doesn't look like he was hit by a car. He looks like he was in a physical altercation. It's as plain as the nose on your face, and we have evidence that we have witnesses who are going to propound that evidence and present that evidence. So Mr. Lally and the Commonwealth can take whatever position they want to. If they think those injuries are consistent with being hit by a 6,000-pound truck, they can knock themselves out. That is not the state of the case, and they don't get to dictate the state of the facts. The facts speak for themselves.
I love that
Second,
line.
with regard to whether or not Mr. Albert was home that night, or at the home that night in a position to be able to engage in a physical altercation, which, by the way, takes about that long, that is predicated on his own family members covering for him. Every one of the witnesses who testified basically are friends and families of the Alberts. And keep in mind, Your Honor, I don't think it's lost on anybody that Colin Albert was hidden, specifically and intentionally hidden from all of law enforcement for the first several months of this investigation. Nobody was willing to even say he was at the house. That is highly, highly suspicious. Given the gravity of what we have now, I would take an issue with one thing Mr. Lally said. He said this diverts the jurors' attention. I would agree it diverts their attention. It diverts their attention to somebody who possibly could be involved with this who was not properly investigated. And I'll submit.
I don't think Lally is flustered. I think he knows he's going to lose this particular argument. He's got to make the argument. He's got to try. But I think he knows he's going to lose this one. Sometimes you got to make arguments you know you're going to lose. It is what it is. So, yeah. Yeah. Sam S. Galaxy, these guys seem like very good attorneys, and I'll bet they've passed the bar, Runkle of the Bailey. I'm wondering, are you the person who's like throwing shit in my email? Yeah, I'm sure they passed the bar. If you are that person, so have I. So, yeah. This is a good question. I struggle ethically with the idea of a third-party defense. Throwing someone else under the bus unless you have solid evidence seems like 2 wrongs to make a right. The thing is you're allowed to point to it. And sometimes crimes have actually been solved by defense counsel. Sometimes crimes have been solved by somebody gets accused of a crime and their lawyers go and like dig up, like they do some investigation. They go, hey, how about this? This actually tends to happen a lot more on what you'd call like late appeals. You've got like late appeals where you've got somebody who, they've been wrongfully convicted or something like that. Sometimes you end up being like, let's talk about who did it. And sometimes there have been situations where they, for instance, go and find the actual person in, who might be in jail for like other crimes and so forth and be like, this is the dude. Sometimes they've gotten confessions over those, over those things. So, no, it's reasonable. Sometimes you can, and the thing is sometimes all you need to show isn't this person did it, but maybe this person did it, right? Maybe they could have done it. So, yeah.
Okay, so may I have those 2 flash drives, please? Yes, no, I was asking that. All right, so why don't we take a 15-minute recess? I'll look at these and we'll come out.
All right, so she takes some time to think about it. We get the fan. She says 15 minutes. It's a little more than 15 minutes, but that's fair. Habeas petitions almost always point to someone else. Thick DNA years later. sometimes they don't point to someone else so much as they point to not me. Like you'll get, there was DNA found and it's not my guy, or it's not, whatever. So yeah. But sometimes it's like specifically, it's this dude. Like we found who it is.
Oh, actually, they'll need to be passed down to Nancy. Thank you. Sorry.
Casey Anthony blaming her father, which got her off, is an excellent example of raising reasonable doubt to get the defendant off. Yep. Yep, absolutely. I'm being told in shrinken. Runkle, but the impact on the other person is so bad, suggesting they might have done it impacts their life. It does not seem ethical. I mean, you've got to let somebody make the argument. The one thing is that this argument of pointing the finger at someone else is an argument you cannot make if your client admits that, that they did it. You are actually, like, you can run a defense with a client who admits to you that they committed the crime. Like, let's consider the hypothetical of Karen Reed, if she went into their office and says, actually, I ran him over because I thought it would be funny, right? Something, whatever. They could still defend the case in terms of the investigation is shoddy, in terms of all of those things. But what they couldn't do, what they wouldn't be allowed to run as an argument is this other guy did it or somebody else did it, right? So, yeah. Runkle, isn't that perjury for you to lie in court? You don't lie in court. You never lie in court. You don't get up and say, my client didn't do it. You get up and say, they haven't proven their case. And those are different things. And also, it's not perjury. It's a different issue if a lawyer lies in court, because the lawyer isn't under oath typically. So it's not perjury, but it is an ethical issue. Yeah, and this is the other thing. The hesitating to sod it, some other dude did it, defense is fair. But there are hurdles pre-trial that you have to overcome to be allowed to argue these points. Defense here won those arguments and are allowed to do it. That is the other thing. So they did get permission to argue it on the basis that they have like a prima facie argument for it. So, yeah.
The witness can take the stand, please.
It's very rare that anybody goes to jail for perjury.
And so I'll remind you, you're still under oath.
All right, so Mr. Jackson, Madam Court Reporter has two marked for identification. Are you moving to introduce those into evidence at this point?
With the court's permission, yes.
Okay, so let's wait a minute.
All right, so voir dire is done. Those exhibits are being allowed into evidence. And here's the thing. Lots of people are saying that this judge is super, super biased and, is whatever else. I'm not seeing it. I don't think she's super biased. I don't like some of the decisions she makes. And I think sometimes she leans towards the prosecution. But this would have been an easy place for the judge to just say, I'm not allowing this in. It's not in. I'm not allowing it in. And that would have been far more damaging to this case than what, what happened earlier. So I don't know. I don't know. I see some of the people saying like that they call her Aunt Bev and so forth. I don't like that. But I mean, small towns. I don't know where she sits, right? I just don't know. And I bumped my pocket knife and it went somewhere.
GG will be with the babysitter on.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if there's a conviction, this will absolutely, I'm sure that this will be a ground for appeal. I don't know all the details on this. I'm just watching the trial and watching the call she makes, right?
Yeah, Mark.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Albert, before we took a break, you had mentioned that you've never been in a fight.
Correct.
You stand by that testimony?
Correct.
I'd like you to take a look at the video. It's been marked for, sorry, it's evidence number 86. I'm going to play this short video for you, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Yo, you're Benton's boys. I will beat all your asses. I promise you, I will fuck you all up. Pull up, bitch.
Yeah, let's.
Now the jury's seen that.
Did you recognize what was depicted in that video?
Yes.
Who was that?
Me.
Approximately when was that video taken?
Around my sophomore year in high school.
Sophomore year or senior year in high school?
Say around my sophomore year in high school.
Why do you say your sophomore year when you previously, let me ask it a different way. Did you previously testify at a different hearing back in July of 2023?
Yes.
You were asked about this video, weren't you?
Yes.
You were asked about another video at the same time, correct?
Correct.
And in that hearing,
All right, I'm going to stop for just 1 second. Yeah, I agree that Lally opened the door here. And I think Lally opened the door in part to try to, because he's trying to attack the defense theory of the case. But in doing so, he's making it easier for the defense to argue their theory of the case. But I need to interrupt for a second for this. Because we've got this. Emma Daisy says, what irks me is people saying we should wait until the Commonwealth rests until having reasonable doubt. No, a person is innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Therefore, I'll presume they're innocent until the prosecution has fully convinced me otherwise. I agree 100%, Emma Daisy. We can say, I'm not decided, but until they move the needle past, past the default state is acquittal. The default state is acquittal. And so until they push us past that, we're just that's where we are. The thing you can't do is close your mind to the possibility that they might come out with evidence, right? So you can say right now, I'm all over reasonable doubt. They haven't proven their case, but you still have to have your mind open to the possibility that they can come up with evidence, at this point. So
you said you believe that was taken closer to your junior year or senior year in high school, correct?
Correct.
That was under the oath?
Correct.
Same oath that you took here?
Correct.
Closer in time to the events in question. And at that time, you said,
to be fair,
junior
both.
year or senior year in high school, correct?
Correct.
If it was your senior year in high school, what year would that have been?
Hey, Vices.
21, 22. So 2021, 2022.
Going into 2022, correct?
Yeah.
The same year that John O'Keefe passed away.
Correct.
What did you mean by, I'm going to fuck you up?
That I was going to beat them up.
Actually, you didn't say beat them up. You said, I'm going to beat your ass, didn't you?
Yes.
That was a threat.
It would have been so much better to get get those words out of his mouth here.
Wasn't it?
Yes.
It was a threat directed at some other individuals with whom you had some sort of a beef or a problem.
Correct.
And your resolution of that problem is, I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to beat your ass. Right?
Correct.
I wanted him
But
to
you
put
never
the
been in a
words
fight.
into his
Never.
mouth.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, could we play evidence number 87?
Yes.
Now, I'm just going to note here, you know how much Lally has been putting everyone to sleep? You to sleep, me to sleep. I'm sure also the jurors to sleep. Now Jackson gets to get up there and he gets to shout. I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to beat your ass. Do you think the jurors are awake? Do you think the jurors are like, ooh, this is fun. This is interesting. This is what the jury wants to see, right? This is what the jury is excited to see, right? And so this is showmanship.
You're a bitch, bro. Fuck you. Fuck you, pussy. Good code, boy. You be knocked out. KO. Bang, bang.
Bang, bang.
Right? May I inquire?
Yes.
Mr. Albert, who was that in that video?
Me.
Was that taken around the same time?
Yes.
You indicated, you're a bitch, bro. Right?
Correct.
Was that a threat?
Yes.
More of an insult?
Yeah, more of an insult.
Calling someone out?
Yep.
Making them feel bad?
Yeah.
Prompting them to maybe fight?
Objection, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'll ask that question differently, Mr. Jackson.
Also called him a pussy, didn't you?
Correct.
Derogatory comment?
Correct.
And then you said, right?
Correct.
What's KO mean?
Knockout.
Huh, knockout, like something you do with your fists. Also, I think I just let Fightbot into the chat to go cause some trouble. So, if you want to use all caps and so forth, it's at your own risk. Fightbot is on the case. All right, back we go.
And what does bang bang mean?
I'm not sure, honestly.
You were just talking about knocking somebody out.
Correct.
And the bang bang just sort of flowed.
Exactly.
Was that a threat?
Yes.
And these threats that we've just talked about, that we've just seen, these are threats of physical violence, right?
Correct.
You're not threatening to hurt their feelings or send them a mean text, right?
No.
You're threatening to kick their ass, right?
Correct.
To get physical, right?
Was Fightbot
Yes.
not
To ball up
working
your
properly?
fists and beat the shit out of them.
Objection.
Can you answer that? Will you answer that, please?
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Probably shouldn't. You were threatening to ball up your fist and beat the heck out of them.
Objection.
I'll allow it. Is that what you were threatening to do?
Yes.
When you testified in a separate proceeding in July
Why is Fightbot not
2023,
acting?
you actually showed up for questioning live, correct?
Yes.
And you showed up at the time in July of 2023 with your knuckles busted up again, didn't you?
Correct.
And you were asked about your knuckles at that time, correct?
Correct.
And that time you said, oh no, I didn't fall down on black ice and slip and break my fall with my knuckles like you said. Here, you said, oh, I hit a heavy bag and busted my knuckles up on a heavy bag, right?
Correct.
So that heavy bag.
See, that's where we get into some fun, right? Because, you said one thing, you said a different thing at another time. Why are you saying different things? Why is that going on? So, yeah.
Was you practicing boxing, right?
It was me getting cardio, yes.
Which is in a form of fighting,
In a form, yeah.
punching a bag.
Yep.
That's how you choose to do your cardio.
Sometimes.
And you're right-handed,
Yes.
and it was your right hand that was busted up.
Correct.
So when you throw your hardest punch,
Why is
That's what you're
Fightbot
right
not
here.
working? I don't
I'd
understand.
say, I'm not sure. I'd say they're equal.
you're equally strong with both hands.
I'd say so.
So in your words,
He made sure to get that out this time. He made damn sure to get that out. So, yeah.
you could fuck somebody up with either hand, right?
Objection, Your Honor.
Can you answer that?
No, I'm not saying that.
Huh, Nightbot's not actually joining.
Okay,
That's
Mr. Lally?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, just before I begin, may we approach?
Okay.
Why is Fightbot not joining the channel? Come on, Fightbot. Oh, there it was. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Suddenly, Fightbot went all at once. That's fair. We're going through this guy's testimony because it's real important. This is possibly the most important testimony of the trial, depending on how defense wants to play it. So we're going through it. The next guy who is going to testify for a good long time, we're going to skim over.
Yes.
Mr. Albert, just to be clear, Allie McCabe is not your cousin, correct?
Correct.
She's a friend of yours who you have relatives in common, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, when you and I and other individuals met prior to your testimony in this case, it was just one time, is that correct?
Correct.
Did we talk about something called sequestration?
Not that I remember, no.
Did we talk about having conversations with other witnesses while the case was pending or going on?
No.
Now, you testified when you were asked on cross-examination that you haven't had any conversations with any other witnesses, you haven't watched any coverage, you haven't done any interviews, correct?
Correct.
Was that at my instruction?
No.
Is that something?
He's trying right now to get out. He's trying to get out that I told you not to talk to any of the other witnesses, right? And he's not cooperating.
That you've done at any point in time as far as talking to any other witnesses, including your parents?
No.
Now, you were asked some questions on cross-examination about your family's relationship sort of with the Proctor family, correct?
Yeah, Lally is so confused because he's like, I'm trying to help you here. Just answer the question honestly. And he's like, no, that never happened. And Lally's got a problem here because it's like, yeah, that totally is not how this goes. So
Correct. And taking the Proctor family as it was put as sort of an entity, what I'm going to ask you about is purely about Trooper Michael Proctor. How many times have you seen him in your life?
Maybe 5, 6 times.
And when about would those be, and what would the nature of those interactions be?
Other than when I got interviewed last time with Trooper Proctor and one of his partners. Other than that, I didn't see him for years, I want to say, since I was a young kid.
And when you were a young kid, just so we're clear, as far as young, how young is young?
Maybe saw him. I could have seen him at like a football game or something, but other than that, like pretty young, like 12, 11, 13 years old.
And
I'm just going to say, like, the guy who spent the time with you as a kid might be the guy who might step up, like, on the request of your dad to help you out, or on the request of your uncle or whatever else.
Where about, or what was the context in which you would have seen him? Was it you and him together, or was it a group setting, family? How would you have come into contact with him?
We've been over the grandmother's house a couple of times, but that's pretty much the only time I would see him.
This might actually have been a tactical issue because the ME might actually say, I don't think this is a car crash. I think this is like, this looks, or that this is consistent with punching. And so it might have been tactical to leave the ME so that they could say, there's no evidence it was a fist fight. That could have been tactical. So
now, as far as the photograph that you were shown, as far as a wedding was concerned, you were a ring bearer in that wedding?
Correct.
And that was over 10 years ago, you said?
Yes.
But how old would you have been in that particular photograph or in that particular wedding?
If I had to guess, 8 or 9, maybe around there.
Do you have any independent memory of that wedding or anything about that wedding?
None.
And as far as your family being close, again, sort of Proctor family as an entity, is your family close with all of the Proctors, or is your family close with Courtney Proctor, or is your family close with Michael Proctor?
Mostly just like my aunt and my mom's friendly with Courtney, I'd say. Not really close with Michael.
I have some questions about the text messages that were up on the screen yesterday and up on the screen today, as far as sort of gap between January 28th and February. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, you indicated that there were other means by which you would have communicated with your friend Allie McCabe. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that consistent with, is that only Allie McCabe, or is that consistent with other friends that you would communicate with?
All my friends.
You would sort of switch between call, text, Snapchat, other apps, things like that?
Exactly.
And the top of that screen was the text messages regarding picking you up from 34 Fairview on January 28th or 29th, correct?
Correct.
Do you have any idea when
this
the
is
last
him
time
trying to
was,
save everything.
Text before that? Was it days, weeks, months?
Not sure.
That period sort of
Thank you.
She's like, give
That
that
period
back.
of sort of January 28th into February, how would you characterize that? Is that a normal gap between times that you would have text communications with Alan McCabe?
On iMessage, yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
And from photographs that you were shown yesterday during your direct examination when I was asking you questions, those are photographs from February 11th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And Ms. McCabe was present at the house for your cousin Jack coming home from the Marine Corps as well?
Correct.
You saw.
This is a bit of an issue because they've got the photos from later on, and they're basically saying, hey, I think that the you didn't have injuries closer to, so maybe the injuries happened afterwards. I don't know.
On February 11th, correct?
Yes.
Now, the other photographs that you were shown today at some sort of bar or establishments, were those taken before or after the time at your uncle's house when your cousin Jack came home from the Marines?
After.
And after by days, weeks, if you know?
Weeks.
Now, with regard to questions you were asked about injuries to your hand, those are two separate incidents, one in February when you slipped on ice, is that correct?
Correct.
And one in July when you had struck a heavy bag, correct?
Correct.
When you struck a heavy bag and got sort of injuries on your hands, were you wearing anything on your hand when you hit the heavy bag?
Nothing. Nope.
Have you received any sort of training in boxing, taking classes, anything like that?
Never.
It was something you do as part of your workout, correct?
Correct.
You're an athlete, correct?
I'd like to say so. Yeah.
You played sports in high school, correct?
Yeah.
And at least at the beginning of college, you played sports in college, correct?
Correct.
Now, you were asked about things about that February 26th photo at it was Fenway Johnny's, is that where it was?
Correct.
And you were asked about control over the photograph, correct?
Say that again.
You were asked different questions about your control over what you could do or alter with respect to the photograph, correct?
Yes. Correct.
We don't know.
You were in control about whether or not you were photographed, correct?
Yes.
Nobody forced you to go up and pose with your friends or anything like that?
Nope.
Now, as far as those videos that you were just shown, how old were you?
Around 16. I'd say around 16 years old.
So you believe it was sometime in your sophomore year of high school?
Yes, that's what I believe.
And so that would have been a couple years before your senior year of high school, which you were in January 2022, correct?
Correct.
And once again, the miracle of the brain worms. He's cured. He doesn't have any memory problems. He doesn't have any, can you rephrase that? I don't understand the question. What does that word mean? Suddenly he understands all sorts of things, right? And yeah, I've seen going around on Twitter that this is Lally's first criminal case. It's not. I have seen like news articles for like several very serious cases he's done before this. So it's not his first criminal case. That's just not true. So.
And this video, as far as you recall who you were referencing in those videos?
An Advantage club hockey team.
So a club hockey team, were they about the same age as you?
Yes.
And did you know any of those people?
Nope.
And were they the club hockey team, was that within the same town as you were?
I'm not sure.
Did you play hockey?
Nope.
At any point in time in high school?
Never.
And was
So
it
you didn't play hockey, but you want to pick a fight with the hockey team? Yeah.
this just you sending them videos, or was this some sort of argument or something going back and forth?
It was an argument going back and forth.
So what, if anything, did you or any of your friends receive in regard to from that club hockey team?
We received
What if anything? Okay.
texts like being name called, like calling pussies and words like that.
So do you recall which came first as far as the text or the video?
I do not recall.
But similar to the text.
That was not the answer Lally wanted here. He's like, do you recall what came first? And what he wanted is they were texting me. The video was a response to their thing. And he's like, I don't remember. So I guess we do have a little bit of brainworms back.
Message that you received from this club hockey team, were they similar in nature to the videos that you posted?
Correct.
Do you recall what the argument was about with this other group of kids from this club hockey team?
Yeah. It was the girls in our friend group. A couple of the girls in our friend group like hung out with them a few times. So like all my guy friends got a little salty about it. So that's why we kind of sent videos back and forth.
So you were going to pick a fight because you were angry that these girls hung out with some other dudes? That's not great. This is a good one. How did they get your number? Yeah, I don't know that one. Like, I just don't understand.
So you were teenage kids arguing about girls, correct?
Exactly.
And at any point in time, did your friend group and this club hockey team ever meet up at all?
Never.
Any sort of physical altercation or anything like that?
Nope.
And you indicated that you've never really been in a fight except for with your brothers, correct?
Correct.
And when you would get in a fight with your brothers, how old were you then?
Younger, I'd say. Yeah, younger.
Younger, like as young as you were when you were ring bearer in somebody's wedding?
Yeah.
Now, with regard to John O'Keefe, your neighbor who lives a couple doors down, did you ever threaten John O'Keefe?
Never.
John O'Keefe ever threaten you?
Never.
Did you ever get in an argument about girls?
Nope.
Any animus or any conflict that you can recall ever between yourself and Mr. O'Keefe?
Never.
Now, you were asked some questions on cross-examination regarding whether or not you've been thinking about this case for the last 2.5 years. You recall that?
Yes.
And you indicated that you would not, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Sorry.
And
The whole
you
thing.
indicated in your testimony in response to that questioning, essentially not until people were writing things about you on the internet, correct? Correct.
I mean, it's
Expound
more
upon
just that
and
he
explain to
hasn't
the jury
actually created
when
a
that
case.
occurred and what were the things that were being written about you on the internet.
I'd say about a little over a year. It started when people on Twitter, Instagram, social media were just coming at my family, calling us murderers, harassing us, showing up to our doorsteps, our sports games.
I just want to hear the question again.
Expound upon that. Can you explain to the jury sort of when that occurred and what were the things that were being written about you on the internet? On cross-examination regarding whether or not you've been thinking about this case for the last 2.5 years. You recall that?
Yes.
And you indicated that you would not, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Sorry.
And you had indicated in your testimony in response to that questioning, essentially not until people were writing things about you on the internet, correct? Correct. Can you expound upon that? Can you explain to the jury sort of when that occurred and what were the things that were being written about you on the internet?
Okay, Lally, you're trying to say like, oh, they opened the door, they try, whatever. It's like, yeah, you really just want to get this in front of the jury, right?
I'd say about a little over a year. It started when people on Twitter, Instagram, social media were just coming at my family, calling us murderers, harassing us, showing up to our doorsteps, our sports games. I mean, we couldn't leave the house without people taking pictures of us, and it's very terrible.
And how long has that gone on?
The past year and change, a couple months. Past year and a couple months, I'd say.
To be clear, that night that you were at 34 Fairview Road at your uncle's house, January 28th and 29th, at any point in time did you see John O'Keefe at that house, come into that house, around that house, at any point in time that you did?
Never.
Nothing further.
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Albert, you're all set. I think that piece of paper goes back to Mr. Jackson.
All right, so that's him. That's what we got. Now, I've got some people who have asked the question of, is that, can they recall him? Yes, they can. Yes, they can. Now, I see some people also saying he doesn't name Turtle Boy. I suspect that they were told not to go into that. I suspect that they were told not to mention Turtle Boy specifically. Turtle Boy could end up being a witness if they name him. Like if they say Turtle Boy was harassing us, and I'm not saying he was, I'm just saying if, then they could end up calling Turtle Boy to the stand. Rob, I was saying the other night, we see the previous witness, I'm forgetting her name again, where she breaks down and she's crying, but it's because she's being harassed and not because of the victim. Yeah. And Harmony DeRoche, hey, Runkle, may I please get a happy birthday? Happy birthday. I'm glad I spotted that one in the sort of scroll of the chat there. People are saying, who is Turtle Boy? He's been reporting on this case for a while. He's a controversial figure. People are saying, why would the defense call him again? Well, if there's new evidence that comes out in the course of this trial, and if they want to suggest to him various other things, then, you know, that's a concern. So, all right. Yeah, it does seem like the witnesses don't really care about John O'Keefe. It doesn't seem like anybody seems to think that it's, you know, that it's sad that he's gone. Nobody really seems to miss him or anything like that. It's a thing. So, all right, let's go on to our next witness. And we're going to be, maybe I should cover some super chats before we do. All right. So we'll cover some super chats here. Whoop. Start at the top here. Squinting Cat, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Rainman YYC, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Just Ginge, 1:30 a.m. UK time sleepy, but I had beer, so it's okay. Hopefully a better beer than the ones they've been drinking in their evidence in this trial. Pippi Longstocking, thank you for the YouTube membership. Jessica Lynn, thank you for the YouTube membership. Lou M, thank you so much for the super sticker there. Bellettre, I think that's supposed to be a French pronunciation. Thank you for the super sticker. Greg, Kurt had an 11-minute rant on him jumping the bias train over this today. I kind of want to go see it now, so I'll have to find that later. I can't remember. Thank you for the YouTube membership. Claude Simeon, Judge Lazy in general, also not asking for grounds of objection before sustaining or allowing it. Same principle, widest latitude possible. I think she doesn't want the grounds being used to contaminate the jury. Sparkles, it seems to me, a junior litigation associate, the judge generally does not care about what the public or an appellate court may think of her. Thoughts? I think that's fair. I don't think she's worried about what the public thinks. And that's a good thing in a judge. So I can't remember. Thank you for 5 gifted memberships. Much appreciated. Philip Martin, do you feel the judge is biased against the defendant? I don't know. I'm torn on that one. I explained that one a little bit further before, but yeah. Tess, thank you for the 20 gifted memberships. Not Wraith, thank you for the YouTube membership. Welcome aboard. Nikki Lewis, congratulations on the member anniversary there. Southern Mom, what does it take to consider someone a hostile witness? And what happens if a witness is declared as hostile? Love your recaps. So hostile witness only applies to witnesses that are called by you. Like when the other side calls a witness, you can cross-examine them. But normally you can't cross-examine your own witness. You know, if I call Joe Boggs to the stand, I don't get to cross-examine him. I have to ask him sort of non-leading questions. The issue on that one is that sometimes you'll get a witness who I might have to call, but it's clear that this witness is not on my side. So you can get a witness who you call them up to the stand, and it's very clear that they're adverse in interest and that they're opposed to you. And so at that point, you might be able to get a declaration that they're hostile. And if you can get that, then you get to cross-examine them. Now, a declaration that's a witness is hostile can be predicated on all sorts of things. Usually, it's predicated on the witness's behavior when you're asking them questions. You know, if you'll get witnesses who will be punchy to these things, you'll get witnesses, let's say you call a witness and you're like, okay, so at the bar, do you remember, do you remember what happened that day? And they say, yes. And you say, okay, can you tell me, start at the beginning, what happened? And the witness says, like, I had a beer. And you're like, okay, after the beer, what happened? I ordered a second beer. And, and then what happened? I gave a $2 tip. And, you just can't get them through anything because they're deliberately being stubborn. Then you might be able to get them declared as hostile. So, Dawn, thank you so much for the membership there. Much appreciated. Galena Ward, brain worms are transferred by sharing solo cups. Love it. Benjamin Gray, 5 months. Woot. Thank you so much. Patty Booth, thank you for the new membership. Destiny Salinger, thank you for the new membership. Teresa S., thank you for the new membership. Legal Spaniel, also welcome aboard. Marjorie Haskin, that Menendez lizard sweater is not going to save him from this cross. And then laughing face, fire, laughing face. Yeah, he does not do well. Greg says, that's not the internet. That's Colin trying to grasp the question. That was when I had an internet lag. Christine Galhardo, thank you so much for the super sticker. No way, welcome aboard. Thank you. Yellow Pill NP. Y'all, he's also part of the generation that were taught math using Common Core, or is that only in Florida? I don't know what his math skills are. Apple Silver, the direct resurrect, referring to how they just suddenly perk up again once they're on redirect. So Elliot JN, thank you for the YouTube membership. L. Fliggins, I'm not surprised these compassionless witnesses are all flabbergasted that John O'Keefe stepped up to take care of his niece and nephew. He seems like a decent guy, or like he was. Kitterali or Kitteralil, thank you so much. I'm probably mangling that. Ann Hagberg, I feel like, could you repeat the question? Is the spelling bee version of, could I have a definition? Greetings from Norfolk County, Massachusetts. So you're right in the area. And yeah, it's like, can I buy some time to think about this? John Duncan, well, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Against the Tide, please like to help Ian reach his pro bono goals. Thank you. DSN, thank you for the super sticker. Billy's Momzilla, maybe a mentalist erased parts of their minds. It's weird. Chelsea Rama, if you were Colin's lawyer, how would you have advised him differently? I don't know how you advised him in the first place. Also, would you have suggested he turn over his phone? I don't know that either, because I don't know what's on the phone. If the phone has and then I totally murdered the guy, I would not advise he turn that over by any stretch. And again, I don't know. That's an if. Len Britton, I had to buy a screaming goat for these people. Screaming goats are really fun sometimes and really useful. Robin Shermantine, thank you so much for the membership there. Ellie Lawson, thank you so much. Brooke Nellius, bang, bang. Yes, thank you. Wendy W., classic case of cross-examnesia. That one is from Legal Bites, and it is hilarious. I wish I'd come up with that. Gretchen Call, when does the defense get a dentistry license? They're out here pulling teeth. Love it. Lynn Porter just got here. EDB says you're coming to Nashville. I am. We shall meet you with our White Claws. I'll have a Caesar. Allison, maybe he called here and she texted back. It's possible. I feel like at that age, he probably would have texted before he phoned, though. Hey, can I call you? Jordan Patterson, I don't understand the all lowercase. My phone autocorrects capitalization all the time. I feel like this might actually need an expert just to testify about those messages, but they didn't ask him those questions. So if they get that expert, they'll have to recall him to ask him those questions afterwards. So we'll see. Jody Arias, thanks for the text message in. Love you. And there's the winky face there. Allie Lawson, thanks for making this dog of a trial entertaining. It's a weird trial. Beldy, anyone else think his pupils are huge in that photo? I think it might just be the lighting. I can't say for certain. I don't want to speculate on that. Baby Gator, the bus stop rando, says, I'm sorry, but if he landed that way, he would have broke his wrist, hand, or fingers. I call poop emoji. I don't believe for a second that one. And he backs away from that too. It's like, yeah. Suzanne braced himself with his knuckles. I hope the jury doesn't believe that crap. Tomato Cheeks, I don't know. I don't even know how to fall down. Mispronounced name. He should swap his heavy bag for a concrete block. Steve A. Maximum pigeon business / brainworm / cross-examnesia. Yep. Billy's Momzilla, this has to be bad for Canton real estate. No one wants these people as neighbors. Yeah. Sleeve and Eves. I'm 20 minutes behind, but you referencing my favorite Tenacious D song made my night. F her gently is amazing. Yes. Man, Bear, Pig, Hard R, N-word, Neighbor. Yes, we'll go with that. Melissa Smith, Shorsey was chirping. Fair enough. Half Irish. Do we know if Colin was drinking the night of? I suspect. I don't know. Ms. Pete, why is prosecutors bringing testimony which would be more relevant after? They got to call their I don't know the order why they're calling their witnesses in the particular order they are. Rachel Corrigan, when I first heard the lawyer say beat his ass, I 100% heard him say eat his ass. I was so confused. It would be really funny if the Advantage boys heard that as well. And then we're like, huh, that's an invitation. Yeah. So, yeah. I assume the I'm on a Zoom response would stem from him calling her and she couldn't answer. Yes, but it seems weird that he'd just be calling her out of the blue without a text message anywhere in there. Ashley McQuirk, not Lally summarizing his own case in his own words. There's no evidence of anything in this case. R.I.P. Lally, good knowing you. There, fair. Mrs. Squirrel, I love the username. Thanks for the 10 gifted memberships. Steve A, maybe this other person did it, equals the government didn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that my client did. Exactly. 100%. Lizika, Karen decided third party because she wants justice for her man. She could easily get reasonable doubt. She wants a real investigation and not to be blamed. Fair. I can't speculate necessarily on what's going through her head, but it would be a reasonable motive. Thank you for the new membership. Jessica Carlson, welcome aboard. Just because, what does bang bang mean? Ask Nancy Sinatra. Fair. Baby Gator, the bus stop rando. Did you cheat on your spouse? No, I was just doing cardio. Sir Merrick, Ian, you need to call your recaps breakdowns. Your recaps are longer than some trial days. Fair. We're going to skip over the next witness pretty fast. Mispronounced name for Fightbot treats because he's a good murder bot. He certainly does go crazy when he's let out. So there was a lot of all caps in the chat. So I was just like, okay, Fightbot, tag. Go nuts. Law and Lumber. You know what could have headed off a lot of these questions? Putting on the ME to testify to the injuries regarding the vehicle strike versus punches. That choice leads to these questions being allowed at this stage. Yep. Bones Rocks 54, thank you for the YouTube membership. Sandy, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Noel, Runkle, don't you realize that the Alberts and the McCabe's are the real victims here? I roll. It does feel like that, like nobody shed a tear for John O'Keefe yet. But we have seen people shed a tear for the Alberts and the McCabe's. Lou M, the cuteness of Runkle is distracting. Thank you. I will blush a little bit. Fiery Red Podcast. Ian, thanks for Saturday and the challenge, sir. Thank you. Please don't super chat, though, Fiery Red Podcast. I know I'm happy to, so great to see you here, but we're fundraising for you. This is the wrong direction for money to be going. So, but thank you so much. Ember Vale, thank you for the YouTube membership. Debbie J, how will the continued introduction to the harassment conversation be interpreted by the jury? I think it could go either way, because if I'm on the jury, I might have some questions about why that's the only time people are breaking up, right? I would certainly want to make that argument or to hint that to the jury. So, Amy Griff, I'll be sticking to my Trulies in Nashville unless they served elderberry moonshine from Leatherwood. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. John Scott, don't think the Commonwealth knows why they're calling witnesses in this order. That is also a thing. Baby Gator, I need to know if the ME checked the armpits. I don't think that's a thing that most normally do. All right. Okay, let's have a look at the next witness here.
Different places.
So where do you live currently? How long have you lived there?
Currently, I will be 10 years.
All right, so let's get to this guy at the beginning of his testimony. I'm going to say I low-key love his tie. I'm going to shrink myself down a little bit. That is a bold tie. And I really want to find the leprechaun he stole it from so I can see if I can get one too. It's a great tie, but I do have to mock that a little bit.
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
It is a nice tie. I'm not kidding, but I am.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
Matthew McCabe, MCCABE,
And where do you live, sir?
Canton, Massachusetts.
And how long have you lived in Canton?
I'll be 20 years this coming June.
And during the time that you have lived in Canton, have you lived at the same place or have you lived at different places?
Different places.
And then they proceed for like an hour about who this guy is and where he's lived. And I just gotta say, I watched through this whole this guy's whole testimony, and I didn't get a whole lot out of him. It's more of like, went to, why didn't we go to the pizza place? Because there's this diet thing. Who was drinking what? Well, she was drinking a clear beverage that could have been any clear beverage, because that's what clear beverages do. I don't know why we hear from this guy. He basically has nothing to say for.
So I must have been again. I don't remember, but I must have been listening on holding it in my hand
for like an hour.
And when you come into the waterfall, do you recall about what time that was?
9 o'clock, give or take a couple minutes.
Were you at a high top or a low top, sir?
And again, you come over to a table closest to the bar, and who's in the group when you get there?
When we arrived, it was Nicole, Caitlin, Caitlin's boyfriend, Tristan, Chris Albert, and Julie Albert. We were also joined by Nick Kolakisas, who I mentioned. I just don't remember if Nick was already in or if Nick walked in right after me, but Nick and we got there similar times. I just don't know if he was already sitting in the bar or standing there when I walked in, or if he came in right after.
Now, I don't have a timestamp for this, but somebody is mentioning, Runkle, don't forget the vodka and Crystal Light. Yeah, he mentions that he mentions that normally he would drink a beer, but instead he has vodka and soda and a splash of Crystal Light. And I'm like, okay, of all the things, and Andrea, talking about the injuries to his fist, says, absolutely looks like it could be from hitting the heavy bag without wraps or gloves. The ones from the February 26th photo look a day or two old. There definitely are dumbasses who do that. And frankly, I can believe he's a dumbass. I have seen tremendous evidence of Colin Albert being a dumbass. So thank you, Andrea. So yeah.
Oh, and Jen, obviously.
Yeah, this is the other thing. He's the first person who knows the guy's name. I'm not going to try to pronounce it right now. And actually seems to treat him with some respect instead of just kind of mocking him. So yeah, I didn't hate this guy as a witness. Like, I didn't think he was I didn't think he came off as super deceptive, but at the same time, he was just kind of like, his evidence was just kind of uninteresting.
For Bush, is that correct?
That is correct.
So their mother and father tragically passed away, and Mr. O'Keefe then became their guardian, correct?
That is correct.
And when you met Mr. O'Keefe, is that when you were living at the house on Sutcliffe?
Yes.
And where was that house in relation to where Mr. O'Keefe initially lived with his niece and nephew?
Lolly, seriously. Where is that house compared to where Mr. O'Keefe lived? Couldn't you just key the jury's car if you hate them this much? Like, I suppose it's a lot of cars, but like, I'm just like, okay, okay. Oh, we got siren.
Mr. O'Keefe was concerned. Do you recall anything about what he was wearing that night?
I recall a baseball cap, and he tends to brim it over a little bit, and shirt and jeans. I don't know exactly what he was wearing.
He was
Do you
wearing
recall seeing him at
clothes.
any point in
Cool.
time with any kind of winter coat or heavy coat or anything like that?
Not that I recall. If he had one on, he had one on. I don't recall it.
And as far as his person, his features, what you could see, what, if any, injuries did you observe on him at that time?
I did not see any injuries.
And do you recall what John was drinking that night?
I believe he's drinking Bud Light beer.
Is that pretty typical for him?
Majority of times I saw John, yes, he was drinking Bud Light. I do recall when he came to my house for that first meet, he was drinking Bud Light Limes, which I thought was interesting, but it was at a pool, and maybe it was a summer drink for him. I'm not sure.
Probably not related to Matt McCabe's green tie, but May 16th is Mental Health Action Day. Color to show support is green. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. This is going to sound terrible, chat, but it is absolutely a tremendous tragedy that John O'Keefe was killed. And if I am killed in whatever scenario, there's that guy who is a threat to my life, apparently. If he shows up to murder me, I hope to God that my last drink isn't a Bud Light. If I'm going to die, the last drink I want to have is like a nice scotch. Even this that I've got, which is a blended scotch, it's sort of a cheap scotch here. God, yeah. It's like, oh, somebody's going to be like, oh, that's, yeah, Bud Light Lime. I get it. That's not that much better. So yeah, I would just, that would be like a regret if I was, yeah.
Fair enough.
I think I gave him a hard time.
Now, with reference to Miss Reed that night, what, if anything, did you observe her to be?
We do actually hear from this guy that there is some, we hear a little bit about some teasing. We hear a little bit about what some people might call teasing and what some other people might call bullying. And whether or not that comes off as teasing versus bullying is going to be very much in how it's received and whether or not it's fun and whether or not they... So we hear, for instance, there's a video, and I didn't get the timestamp because honestly, it's not super important. There's a video where somebody has an umbrella and is dancing along to It's Raining Men. And they found this video of that person and they showed it to everybody. That might be like, some people might be pissed at that. Some people might think it was funny. So I don't know. And the thing is that the Albert crew might have thought it was funny. And John O'Keefe might not have thought it was funny. How's this for a supposition of how things go? John O'Keefe is not really big on this kind of teasing behavior, right? He's not really keen on the jokes about his lawn. He's not really keen about these kinds of jokes. And again, this is pure hypothetical. I'm just going through a possible scenario. He's having some drinks. He goes over to their house. They keep doing it. And eventually he says, like, hey, knock it the hell off, right? And like, and then it becomes a thing, right? Then it becomes a like a more of a challenge. Then it could turn into a physical confrontation, right? So, I don't know, right? Again, this is pure hypothetical, but like a lot of people have said, like Colin Albert started the fight or Brian Albert started the fight. If there even was a fight, it could be that John O'Keefe started the fight. Like, we don't know. We don't even know if there is a fight, right? We don't know any of this stuff, right? So, yeah, I'm just like, I don't know what's going on.
Normal conversation. She, hi, how you doing? Good to see you. She made a reference to myself asking how Jen and I do it. And I said, she was talking about with the 4 girls. How do we do it? How do you raise the 4 girls? You guys look happy. And I actually,
How do you do it? And I was like, what? I had a little moment of like, she made a reference of how do you do it? And I was like, yeah, what did she ask? Oh, how do you manage with 4 kids? Okay, that's a very different question than where my brain went. I went to a very different place on that question.
we joked to her. I said, well, we're at a bar. Considering, it's obviously any marriage will tell you have your ups and downs. But brief, conversational, nothing of any substance. Just.
I actually thought this was kind of funny. Like, this guy's got a bit of a sense of humor. He's like, how do we do it with 4 kids? Well, we drink. Like, okay, cool. Like, that's, and he jokes a bit, like, and this is the other thing that I think is really important to be realistic about. And I've had to tell people about this. Like, it's mostly guys who are like, I want to get into a relationship, and they have unrealistic notions about it. And it's like, well, and they have, like, guys tend to get this unrealistic notion where there's like the perfect person for them out there who is going to be the best at all times and whatever else. And every relationship has some disagreements, has some strife, has some whatever. You negotiate all of this out. So, and I see people saying 4 girls. Yeah, that could get exciting. And yeah, women get into the same thing sometimes where it's like, we had a fight or we had a disagreement, the relationship's off. And it's like, how did you fight? Like, did you have a reasonable disagreement and move on? Like, okay, cool. A relationship involves some give and take. And you got to learn and you got to adapt and all of that stuff. So, yeah.
Good to see you.
Now, this time that you're talking about that you're leaving shortly after midnight, is that around the time that sort of the bar was winding down for the evening?
Yes.
I don't think anyone knows
playing
yet.
Before, were they still playing? Or
I don't even know if the defense knows yet.
They had stopped earlier, before 12. I don't remember the exact time, but they definitely stopped earlier. There were some people there, but our table was definitely the last table to wrap it up. Well, some people left before me, but the band was packing up packing up all their.
Okay, so they closed out the bar, right? They closed out the bar. Okay. What else do we learn from this guy?
And again, by your car, I mean your wife Jennifer's car, is that right?
Yes.
And where was she in relation to the car when you did?
She was already in the car.
So let me ask you, as far as where was she seated within the?
Oh, sorry. She was in the driver's seat.
So you get in the front passenger side, is that right?
That's correct.
And
he just closed out a bar.
What, if any, communication did you become aware of between your wife and Mr. O'Keefe?
When I got into the vehicle, my wife received a text from John, and it said, where to? I think he was looking for the address. I told my wife, we were starting to drive out of the parking lot. I told her, just call him instead of texting him back.
So rather than text while she's driving, you advise her just call him back.
That's
Correct.
safe. That's better.
Did she call him?
She did.
And with respect to that Bluetooth that we were discussing earlier within the car, this call from your wife, Jennifer, to John O'Keefe, was that using the Bluetooth technology?
I'm assuming it was. I don't recall.
He's like, Lally, could you please not have me admit to committing an offense on the stand? Like, maybe she just dialed it. Like, it's like, Lally, just don't ask the question of how they called while driving. Like, move the hell on. Don't try to squeeze that out.
But I knew he was on the phone asking what the address was.
Let me ask you this. Could you hear both sides of the conversation?
I could hear him, yes.
So you heard your wife talking and you heard John talking, correct?
Yes.
And as far as that communication with reference to where to or where to go or the address, you describe to the jury sort of what that conversation consisted of.
Conversation was the address, 34 Fairview. And I actually was definitely mumbling stuff from my seat saying, come out, take a right, take a left on Sherman, and 33rd Fairview. And that was that initial call, was just giving him the address and telling him to Sherman's easiest way.
Oh my God. Okay.
And so when you say that initial call, was there a subsequent call while you were still en route to 34th Fairview?
Yes, it was a call a few minutes later. Somehow, I don't know why, but somehow they didn't know where the house was. I recall, again, my assumption would be they'd come from Sherman, from Chapman Street. My wife referenced a friend of Kaylee's who lives off of Fairview.
Oh.
The way I would go, 4 minutes, give or take, 5 minutes.
How long does it get there?
There's multiple
How do we
ways,
get there?
but depends on how you go it.
Oh.
Got there, I'd say a little over an hour. No, got there about 12:20-ish. Left 1:40, 1:40. I don't know the exact time, 1:40, 1:45-ish. So.
You got there somewhere closer to 12:30 and you left somewhere closer to about 1:45, 2 a.m. Is that correct?
Got there about 12:20, give or take, and then, left about 1:40, 1:45. I don't know the specific time, but somewhere around there.
And similar to the question I asked you about the waterfall, as far as the, how would you describe sort of the mood or the demeanor of the group in the house when you got there?
Everybody was hanging out. I know Julie was excited. We just showed up. Good to see us. Brian, excited that we came by. Normal.
So, fair to say no.
So this is the thing, right? They're basically saying, like, at 2 a.m., everybody in the house is happy. Everybody in the house is friendly. There's no fighting. There's no whatever, right?
Tension, no arguments, no.
And supposedly at this point, like, I'm just going to say, like, they should really preserve John O'Keefe's clothing, because, like, the U.S. military could use this to make, like, a stealth fighter. Because, take his clothing, use it to, like, wrap an aircraft so that it can't be detected by radar or other observation. Because supposedly he's out there in the snow and all these people walk past him in one direction or another and nobody sees him, right?
Nothing like that while you were at the house?
No.
And do you recall sort of what you were doing while you were at the house, or what the group was doing?
It's kind of hanging out, talking, sitting around the table, engaging. Music was on. Just having a good time, just hanging out, talking, enjoying each other's company. I do recall my wife put on a foolish video that she wanted to show the kids at the table. But other than that, just socially hanging out with each other.
The foolish video that you're talking about, do you recall what that was?
Who cares about the foolish video?
Did anyone from that group left that sort of general area of the dining room and in the kitchen that you recall?
We were in that room. There's a room right next to the kitchen with a doorway that you can walk through. I was seated at the table, but you could walk through the doorway. I know Julie Nagel went into that room because she was looking out the door. Other people could have walked in and out of that room. It's right there, right next to us.
At any point in time over the course of that evening, did you see anybody sort of go upstairs or downstairs to the basement or anywhere else but that general area of those three rooms in the home?
I did not see anybody.
Now, at some point, you mentioned that Julie Nagel was looking outside for something. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
How long was that in reference to after you arrived and then when that happened?
Again, I don't know the exact time. I'm going to say could have been 3 minutes, could have been 5 minutes, somewhere in that vicinity. We arrived, said hello, good to see everybody. And shortly after, she had mentioned that her brother was there to pick her up.
Now, as far as the Levinson and Miss Nagel, they were friends of your nephew, Brian Albert Jr., is that right?
That's correct.
And did you know them at all at that time, when you arrived there on the 28th?
Miss Levinson, I did not know. First time I met.
So all of this is really to try to attack the defense notion of, like, the timeline. I don't know if it's super effective, because what I'm thinking, if I'm on the jury, is I don't understand why this matters. When was the death? How was the death? When is the body supposed to have been there? When is that supposed to be going on? So all of this stuff about what's happening at the party, I am struggling as, and I'm a lawyer, right? I'm struggling to follow why this timeline matters. And by the time we get to the death, I'm going to be like, what did Green Tie Dude say? I can't connect it to the rest of the theory at this point because I don't know where I'm trying to hang my hat. And at this point, we are seeing so many witnesses. I think this is witness number like 862. And where are we? Where the hell is the actual where is their case?
I definitely had met Julie before. She had, Brian and her hang out. So I definitely met her. I think she's been to I don't know if it was previous to this or after this, but Julie has, helped my my nephew Brian, when we go on vacation. We have a dog, and Brian would usually be the go-to to, let the dog out, etc. And I know Julie has helped him. I just don't know if that was previous to that or after. But I definitely met Julie before, yes.
So we met her before, but essentially met her as a friend of your nephew's, correct?
Yes.
Someone that you knew particularly well, is that fair to say?
Correct. Didn't know her well.
So after about 3 to 5 minutes or so after you arrived, you observed Ms. Nagel looking outside, correct?
Yes, she was going out the door, correct.
And do you know why she was going out the door?
She said her brother was there to pick her up, but she didn't want to leave.
And at any point in time, did either yourself or your wife extend an offer to either Ms. Nagel or Ms. Levinson or both in regard to getting home?
Yes. We informed, my wife informed them that if they wanted to stay because we just got there, we would be more than willing to drive them home.
And fair to say at this point in time, you didn't even know where Ms. Levinson or Ms. Nagel lived, is that correct?
No idea.
You didn't really know what you signed up for as far as driving them home, is that correct?
Well, Canton's not that big of a town, so I wasn't too scared. But yeah, I didn't know exactly where they live. I knew they were from Canton.
Now,
okay, so he's given some rides out.
or something else?
Yeah, it was to the left. It was equivalent to where the driveway was. And then after the end of the driveway, there was a Jeep. And after the Jeep was the SUV, the dark SUV.
And with respect to, just from your perspective, you're looking out, so the driveway would have been to your left, is that right?
Correct.
Are you familiar with any other sort of landmarks or anything else in the front yard area of your brother-in-law's house?
Yes. So you look out, the driveway's to the left. If you look to the right, there is an island of like maybe rhododendrons, something, bushes. There's a flagpole right there. There's a utility. I believe it's a green utility box. I'm assuming it's utility, kind of on the edge. There's a fire hydrant. All that stuff was to the right side of the.
I feel like some internet commenter now is going to go there just to investigate what this utility box is. Like, what is this strange mystery box?
Looking out the front door.
Now, after you look out this initial time, you see this dark SUV sort of right in front of the door. Was that the only time that you looked out, or did you look out on subsequent occasions?
Nope. I looked out again because it'd been a few minutes. Again, 2, 3, 4 minutes. I'm not sure how long, but it'd been a few minutes, and we thought it was weird they hadn't come into the house. Looked out and saw the SUV again.
And
yes, don't actually do that.
Time, where was he?
Somebody else lives there now, so just stay away from that place. But I feel like somebody's going to do it, and they shouldn't. But yeah.
SUV in relation to where it was the first time?
The SUV had moved up the road from the front of the house. It went from spot A to spot B. Now it was further up, more in sync of where the again the flagpole, the utility box, the fire, more in sync with that. It had moved up the road. Thought it was weird that they hadn't come in.
Now, as far as the times that you're looking out, did you happen to make any note of sort of? Let me ask you this: taking you back to the waterfall just for a second. When you were driving, or your wife was driving from the waterfall to 34 Fairview, what, if anything, did you observe as far as what was the weather doing?
The snow had started to fall.
And at that initial time that you're going from the waterfall to Fairview Roads, Was it sticking to the pavement or anything at that point?
I believe there was a dusting. It was definitely falling. I don't think it was on like the main roads, but definitely a dusting of snow was falling. Correct.
And from that,
Dozens of YouTubers and subs have already gone to the home and taken videos and photos already. I don't like that. I gotta say, if that was my house, I would have motion activated sprinklers all over the place there, with like the highest level of water.
time after you arrived at the house and shortly thereafter, when you observed this dark SUV out in front of the house, had that changed at all as far as the accumulation or sticking to the pavement, roadway, grass, anything like that you saw?
Professional idiot.
Yes, at some point, at least on their road and their grass, you could see the snow had started to, it definitely was sticking on that road.
Now, you observe it initially in front of the door, then about 3 or 4 minutes later, you observe it further up towards the flagpole, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And each of these times, you're not just standing at the door or standing at the window, staring out the entire time, correct?
No, just looking out, being like, what the hell are they doing? And going back to my seat.
And at other than those 2 times that you've already testified about, was there any subsequent times after that?
Yes, I definitely looked out a third time out the door.
How does he remember that he looked out all of these times, and why is he at this party staring out the window the whole time? Why? Oh, this is an interesting thing. Even worse, the Alberts didn't disclose O'Keefe's death to the buyers, so these people had no idea how famous their house is. That might actually be grounds for a suit. It might actually be grounds for
looked out the door. Where was the dark SUV in relation to where it had been the second time?
It had now proceeded further up the road, past the flagpole, past the utility box, past the fire hydrant, more in line with between the yards. I believe there's bushes and trees that separate the Alberts residence to the next residence. So it was actually past the Alberts residence and a little further up. I'd say more on the edge of the property line of the, if you're looking out of the neighbors.
All right, skipping ahead a little bit.
Do you know which vehicle left those abnormal tire marks you saw?
All right, so backing up a little bit.
Would have started before the Jeep. So if the Jeep was here, so where it's just a weird, like a wave. There was a weird wave in the road. You could see.
At some point, Ms. Nagel.
So
if you're looking out of the neighbors to their right, if I'm looking out of their house.
Now, this distance between the second time that you saw it and the third time that you saw it, do you have any idea about how much distance that was or how many feet?
Hey, I'd be guessing 30, 40 feet. I don't know. I have no idea. I'd have to measure it.
Now, with respect to the snow that had fallen on the ground, as far as the vehicle was concerned, it moves from one point to the second point to the third point. Do you observe any sort of, and the tire marks that you observed, do they essentially lead up to the back tires of the dark SUV that you saw out there?
At some point, when I looked out and noticed tire marks that would have started before the Jeep. So if the Jeep was here, so where it's just a weird, like a wave. It was a weird wave in the road. You could see the tire marks.
And was that before or after, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You know about how long she was outside of the house for?
That was a weird stutter.
Yes, that's correct.
Nagel goes out to
tire marks.
And was that before or after? So at some point, Ms. Nagel goes out to some other vehicle and then comes back inside the house, correct?
There's a weird stutter in the
how
playback.
long she was outside of the house for?
I'd be guessing a minute. I'm not sure.
Not terribly long time.
No, not at all.
And so the time that you observed this sort of abnormality in the tire marks that you see out there, so you don't know if that was from the dark SUV or whatever vehicle.
That would have been after.
So you don't know if that was from the sort of abnormality in the tire marks that you see out there. Was that before or after she had come back inside?
Why is this jumping?
That would have been after.
So you don't know if that was from the dark SUV or whatever vehicle she had met. You have no idea.
Objection.
No, can you answer that? Well, the form of the question, it's sustained then.
Do you know which vehicle left those abnormal tire marks you saw?
The reason why she initially said, "Can you answer?" and then she said, "Oh, wait, no," is because it was a leading question.
Based off of where the tire marks were, they came off the curb. I would have. My assumption was it was the.
Okay.
I heard the answer. I withdraw.
Okay.
I withdraw.
Would have.
Why is
My
this
assumption was
jumping?
it was the SUV.
I withdraw.
So he withdrew his
Okay.
objection because the answer came
Okay.
out.
But you don't know, correct?
No, I didn't see the video.
And that was each time you saw it, correct?
The first 2 times, definitely stationary. The third time, looked stationary. If it was going a half mile per hour, I'm not sure, but it was further up the road. It looked to me it was stationary, but like I said, if for some reason it was moving, it could have been moving. But
Now, each time that you saw the vehicle, was it in the same sort of position with respect to the house? By that, I mean, as far as was it on the Alberts, was it on the 34 Fairview side of the road or the other side, or where was it positioned with respect to the road?
yes, same position, parked parallel to the Albert's house, heading forward
I
as
don't
if you
know.
were going to leave Fairview
just
to head
don't
up
know.
to Chapman Street, heading away from the house.
And so each time that you observed the vehicle, you were looking at sort of the passenger side of that vehicle, correct?
That is correct.
And at any point in time, either of these 3 occasions that you observed the vehicle, did you see anybody outside of it?
I did not.
Did you see any footprints around the vehicle or leading away from the vehicle or across the yard or anything like that?
I did not.
And were you able to see inside of the vehicle from where you were, either from the window or from the storm door or the front door?
I could not, or I did not see anything inside.
And further to that point, at any point in time that you observed this vehicle in front of the house, you see any sort of interior lights on inside the vehicle?
Not that I noticed.
Now, you saw it at point 1, point 2, point 3. Were there any other times that you looked outside?
I'm assuming I looked out because at some point the vehicle was gone. So I must have looked out one more time because there was no vehicle there anymore. And again, I don't know if I just peeked out the window and said, oh, they left. Again, we didn't know where they were.
And do you know whether or not there had been any attempt at communication by anyone in the house to Mr. O'Keefe at any point?
Yes.
And who was doing that?
My wife was trying to communicate with John, let him know that he's here.
I'm going to let that stand.
And at any point, do you know whether or not Mr. O'Keefe communicated back to Ms. McKay while they were out front of the house? Objection.
Do you know? Not how you know, but do you know?
Do I know if Mr. O'Keefe communicated back to Jen? Is that the question?
That's my question.
No.
No, she did not, or no, you don't know?
Oh, no, sorry. No, she did not. Sorry.
I'll strike that.
Now, Ms. McCabe, with regard to this, from the first time that you sort of get up and either look out the window or look out the door and see it in front of the front door, to the time that you look out
just,
and see it for the third time, or
this is possibly critical
from the time
for.
that you see it in front of the door to the time that you see that there's no vehicle there anymore. Do you know how long a period of time that was?
I'd say at least 10 minutes, could be 12, 13, 14. I don't know the exact time, but it was out there for a little bit.
And so let me ask it this way. As far as from the first time to the second time, you testified it was about 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, somewhere in there, correct?
Correct.
Were the timing in between the times that you looked out, were they relatively consistent with each other?
Yes, they were.
So you look out 3 or 4 minutes, look out again, 3 or 4 minutes, look out again. Is that?
Yes, that would be in line. Correct.
And at some point around 1:45 or 2 a.m., somewhere in there is when you leave Fairview Road. Is that correct?
Yes,
Do you recall who drove your wife's vehicle home that night?
I drove.
And who, if any,
All right, so that was his sort of testimony about the tire marks.
pointer could you show the jury?
Skipping ahead a little bit here.
Where that vehicle was the first time that you saw it?
Say right about here, in this general area.
The second positioning that you were talking about is that visible in this photograph?
No, it'd be further up the road.
So Ms. Kevin, if I could have exhibit 73. Can you recognize what's depicted now in exhibit 73?
Yes, I do.
That secondary position that you observed the vehicle in is visible in this photograph.
Yes, it is.
So if you could, sir, just direct your attention where about that.
About in this general area right here.
And the third positioning that you saw the vehicle in, can you describe where that was?
Yep, it'd be further up the road. I'd say give or take right there.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman. You can take it.
All right, so he says he sees maybe some tire tracks. Okay.
As you're driving away from the house, do you recall whether or not was there any conversation or music playing or anything like that in the car as you're driving away?
Yeah, it was chitter chatter. You know, my wife was turned towards me, like turned in, talking to the girls behind me. I know at one point somebody was joking about, I don't know, peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something, like something about bread. I forget what it was. And then I drove up the street.
Does anyone else remember the internet video of, peanut butter jelly? All right, moving on. Also, I told Nightbot to take a break because Fightbot was getting a little eager.
And as you were driving up the street and away from the residence of Fairview, what, if anything, did you observe abnormal on the side of the road? Were you looking at the side of the road?
I was not. I was focusing on the snow coming down, the windshield wipers, and driving up the street.
Because it's so hard to drive in that super blizzard. I am judging in Canadian.
Fair to say you didn't see anything in the yard or anything like that?
That's correct.
So you drove each of the two young ladies home, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
You know about what time it was that you got home yourself?
I got home, give or take, somewhere between
big.
after 2:10, 2:15-ish. I don't know the exact time, but somewhere in that vicinity.
And when you got home, each of your 4 daughters, including Allie, were they all home at that point?
The kids were home, correct.
Hold up. He knew John was supposed to be there, was concerned about a lack of John. A passenger said, "What's that thing?" And he just didn't look. Apparently not.
And when you arrive in the house, you and your wife, where did you?
Well, first went in the kitchen. When we walked in, my wife proceeded upstairs before I did. I was in the kitchen for a few minutes and then went upstairs and went to bed.
And did your wife go to bed around the same time as you?
Yes, she might have already been laying in bed before I physically got in the bed, but yes.
And,
all right, we don't need to know about that geometry. All right, so at the end of all of this, the judge says, "Hey, defense, do you want to start cross-examining now?" And the defense is like, "Nope, we want to start at the beginning of the day. We want to have free reign. We want to have full time to go after this guy." I don't know what they're going to go after him about. I suspect they'll go after him about the tire tracks and so forth. I suspect that we'll find out that all of this stuff was stuff that he testified to for the first time ever, because that's sort of been the pattern. I suspect that we will find out that he is like super connected to the Alberts, because that seems to be the pattern. I suspect that we will find out that they're, I just don't know, right? It's such a weird trial. It's such a weird trial. So yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see sort of how this goes, because yeah. All right, let's cover the last of the super chats, and then my room here is heating up and it is way too overheated, so I need to go and like chill out, because yeah. All right, so we're going to land this plane. We're going to go through the super chats. Jack Druger, thank you for 10 gifted memberships. Lisa C. Hi, Runkle. Have you seen the Attorney General's recorded statement? Michael Morrissey, he's AG of Norfolk. Give it a look. It won't be allowed in trial. You can look it up on Court TV. Feds didn't like it. I will probably watch this after the trial. Not right now, but thank you. I will probably check it out afterwards. Baby Gator, Bus Stop Rando. What, if any, flavor of Crystal Light did you drink? A Law Number, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Much appreciated. Melissa Simek, they all have the worst taste in alcohol. They do. Nobody in this whole town drinks like a decent drink. If I was at the bar looking to steal a drink, I would be very disappointed. So yeah. What about the, I did miss that. Okay, let's go back. I screwed up. I'm sorry. We're going back.
And when you arrive in the house, you and your wife, where did you?
We're going
first went
back
in the kitchen. When we walked in, my wife proceeded upstairs before I did. I was in the kitchen for a few minutes and then went upstairs and went to bed.
And did your wife go to bed around the same time as you?
Yes, she might have already been laying in bed before I physically got in the bed, but yes.
And As far as well, when you fell asleep, was your wife still awake, or had she already fallen asleep?
She was still awake. We were
We're going
both
back.
awake. She actually wanted to watch a show, which I had no desire to watch, and said I was going to bed. We talked a little bit about my.
What was the show? What was the show? Sometimes my wife wants to watch shows that I don't want to watch, so she watches them on her own, vice versa.
Younger daughter, about she was trying out for a basketball team, so we talked a little bit about that, and then that was it. I went to bed.
Turning your attention to the morning of the 29th. I'm sorry, yes, the morning of the 29th. You woke up at some point, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And what, if anything, do you recall, or what woke you up that morning?
I woke up to screams in my bedroom.
Or maybe we approach just briefly.
Okay.
I woke up to screams in my bedroom. That's not a good thing.
You follow those 3 cautions. Do not discuss this case with.
And then the judge is like, we're done. So screams, everybody go home now. There was screaming, go home. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. I want to find out what the screaming is about. Guys, don't be mean. I see people like saying, guys, that you're being mean. But yeah, that's it. EDB didn't like your White Claw shade. She's gonna take your photo with one. Never. We'll talk about the White Claw. I saw there was another super chat here. They all have the worst taste in alcohol. They do. Rosie Neufeld, the Rose with a Thorn. Love the recaps. Runkle Snark is best snark. Thank you so much. Rose Lee, but why do you hate White Claws though? It's the taste. They taste like disappointment. Like, all right, I guess this has alcohol in it, but it could really taste like anything other than this, and that would be great. So, yeah. Robert Zerung, thank you so much for the YouTube membership. Billy's Momzilla, we know there was snow. We do. They've proven that extensively. Shorty 6890, the whole thing I can't figure out is why John? If there was a fight, why did the family hate him? I don't know. We are not. This is not the kind of trial where we get answers. This is the kind of trial where we get questions and confusion and a little bit of. This is that kind of trial. William Sladden, what happened to the kids that John had? I have heard, but I don't know, that they are with another family member. I hope they're doing okay, because that's got to be absolutely tragic off of that. So, like, I just can't imagine what those kids are going through. So, yeah. And Hagberg, like EDB, I don't drink beer, but White Claw tastes like TV static. I like rum or whiskey-based drinks. Right? I drink a variety of things. I do a weird thing when I go to the bar, or at least I'm told it's weird, where I'll like order different things for every drink. Lots of people are like, that's strange. Why don't you order the same thing every time? And it's like, because I like to have different things. So I'll start with a Caesar. I'll, move on and have like a wine, all sorts of things. So yeah, all sorts of, that's kind of my habit. Project Com, I don't know, Lolly. You need hundreds of hours of trial experience to move up here, and they'll only give you one trial. What will you do? Against the Tide, if you've been busy doing and making amazing things, please like if you haven't yet. Thank you so much. Baby Gator, Karen Reed's car moved forward. No one says she backed up. Interesting. That is, I haven't seen anything saying that he was hit by a car even. Ann Bell Feinstein, thank you for the company in the kitchen. I made hummus, eggplant dip, and frittata. Hubby needed food and snacks for drill weekend. That sounds really good. Lil Harok, thank you for the YouTube membership. Much appreciated. Baby Gator, what if any butt dialing happened when you got home? Vivi Slavenska, hi, Runkle. Always happy to wake up to your live streams. Greetings from Slovakia. Cool. I love your humor and your opinions. Thank you so much. And Teresa S., thank you so much for the super sticker there. So tomorrow we will hear about the screaming. That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. Ooh, I bet Clamato and tequila with Carolina Reaper powder is good. You know, I might try that later. I might have to try. I don't have any Clamato just on its own. So, yeah. What is it? Because you like to wake up with a migraine. I don't get migraines from doing that, believe it or not. So, yeah. I don't know. We'll have to sort of see what's going on all this one. I want to know about the screaming. I want to know what's going on. So, yeah, we'll just have to figure all this out as we go. Loretta is saying, will there be Friday Night Frenzy tomorrow? Probably. I don't know. I will probably not do a recap of this tomorrow. I will probably not do a recap of this tomorrow. I'll probably end up doing the recap Saturday. I got to figure that out because there's also tomorrow. Also, there's a motion hearing in the Baldwin trial. So I'm going to be watching that. I might be doing a Baldwin thing tomorrow. I got to figure it all out. And somewhere in there, I got to get sleep. I don't know when that happens, but somewhere. So we'll have to figure that out. And hey, Jill, good to see you. How are you doing? Hopefully everything's good. I'll probably go on Saturday or Sunday or whatever else. If there's Friday Night Frenzy, I will probably pop in for Friday Night Frenzy and cover that. So I'm not going to make people choose between me and Friday Night Frenzy because I'm not dumb. I know how that goes. I know I lose that one. So yeah, but yeah, Baldwin is trying to have the charges thrown out. So what I might do is I might record that and then later do a coverage of the Baldwin motion hearing and then send everyone over to Friday Night Frenzy and die of exhaustion. But somewhere in there, we'll see. So that's kind of, we'll figure it out. I don't know if there's going to be a Friday Night Frenzy. Rob is still moving, but I hope I miss Friday Night Frenzy. It's a fun hangout. So also, yes, I see people trying to create drama. Don't create drama. I'm allergic to drama. I don't want drama. So yeah. And yes, I would come with you to Friday Night Frenzy because I like hanging out. So, all right. Thank you so much, Squinting Cat, for the super sticker. I am dying of heat. It is super warm in here. So I am going to, yeah. Did you see the Army training exercise where they made the same mistake as the Rust trial? Wonder if Baldwin brings it up. I don't think they can, but I'm curious. I haven't seen that, so that's interesting. Jill, welcome aboard. Well, thank you for the YouTube membership. Guys, check out Jill's channel. She's got some it's like religious coverage, so not entirely my thing, but she does it in a respectful and, so yeah. Gregor Smith says, how was Hades 2? I didn't actually get around to playing Hades 2. I got something exploded in my lap. So, that sounded, someone's clipping that. I got emails on a file that I had to deal with. And so I spent the evening responding to those emails. So kind of sucked. My evening was not fantastic. But yeah, I got a bunch of stuff on the go and we'll have to figure all that out. All right, I'm going to wrap this up here. I will see you guys soon, maybe tomorrow, maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday. I will let you know, try to give you some notice, but I'm going to wish you guys a good night here. All right, good night, everybody.